We get a look right there. That is Francisco Lindor getting set to go for tonight's game in Miami. He's back in the lineup for the Mets tonight after sitting it out last night following the birth of him and his wife Katya's third child. By the way, if you're coming out to Citi Field to see the Mets and the Blue Jays this weekend, the team is encouraging fans to take mass transit with capacity crowds expected all weekend. As right now, we head to the other side of the diamond, going to focus in here on the Marlins starting pitcher tonight. Sandy Alcantara is 29 years old, the right-hander. And Todd, he was off the charts back in 2022 when he won the Cy Young Award, but he's coming off Tommy John surgery, did not get a decision in his first start of the season against the Pirates. But remind us what makes him so good when he's at his very best.
Look, he was must-watch TV when he was on the mound. We used to watch some of those matchups with Sandy against DeGrom. And the thing why I'm bringing that up, mechanics. This guy has absolutely flawless mechanics. It was unfortunate because he had all those innings back in 2022, which led to the Tommy John. But when we've seen him at his best, he is a guy that's got power stuff, and it explodes out of his hand. Very, very smooth. He's a big guy out there, as you see. But you watch the three-pitch mix here. Four-seamer up in the 98, 99 miles an hour. The slider that's hard in on the lefties or down and away to the righties. And then this two-seamer is such an equalizer. And you see that at 99 miles an hour. That was in 2022. Well, what did we see out of him just in his first start of the season against the Pirates? Looks like the same guy. Nice, smooth mechanics. 99 with the four-seamer once again. And then the slider that goes off the table for the strikeout. But the two-seamer, like I said, is bread and butter. Once again, 98 with late movement. And you see the freeze on that one. So he doesn't look like he's lost anything to me right now. He's probably building up to get the stamina going and make sure that they don't overuse him, because he was a guy that was just always so reliable, over 220 innings in 2022 when he was out there every fifth day. Right now, they're going to be a little more, I think, a little more conservative with him, but at the same time, his stuff has not dropped off at all.
I wonder with a guy like Alcantara, a lot of discussion, he's going to get moved by the Marlins at some point this season. Is that something that plays on a pitcher's mind as they hear those whispers and rumors?
I mean, it might. A guy like that, I think he wants to be healthy, to be able to show that he's going to be back to his regular form. He's still under 30 years old and one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. So, look, anybody that sees this guy healthy and has an opportunity to get him will be trying to get him, because he's a great guy to add to your staff.
I would think so. More to get to here on Citi Pregame Live. The Mets bullpen has been one of the early season bright spots for this team. We'll go to zero in on who sits where when it comes to the manager's circle of trust. That is just ahead. And before tonight's game, the Mets owner, chairman, CEO Steve Cohen getting a chance to chat up Francisco Lindor, and the president of baseball operations, David Stearns, all in attendance down there at Lone Depot Park tonight. We're coming right back.
Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Celebrating 20 years of Mets on SNY, presented by Citi.
August 22nd, 2006, the Mets and the Cardinals at Shea. Fourth inning, Pujols hit a 3-run homer, and then in the fifth inning, crushes a grand slam to left center. So he's driven in 7 runs in a span of 2 at-bats, and it's 7-1 Cardinals, and it looks like this game is lost. But in the bottom of the fifth, bases loaded for Carlos Delgado. He drives one out to right for a grand slam. His second home run of the game is 400th of his major league career, and it cuts the Cardinal lead to 7-5. And then in the bottom of the ninth, with 1 out, LeDuc singled to center, and then Beltran crushed it out to right field, walk-off home run, and the Mets won it 8-7.
That's the Marlins on the way here on SNY. There's Kodai Senga, almost 2 years to the day. He made his big league debut down in Miami against the Marlins April 2nd, 2023. Gave up a run over 5 2/3, and he struck out 8 in that game. Right now, it's time for us to go inside the stats, see who's been digging deep, presented by NY811. The Mets bullpen has been unscored upon until Danny Young gave up a couple of runs in the ninth inning of the game last night. The bullpen's ERA is the second best in baseball through the early portion of this season. So how do things stack up when it comes to Carlos Mendoza and his circle of trust at this moment? We know Edwin Diaz firmly ensconced at the back end, Todd, of that bullpen. But what about the bridge to get to Edwin, and how do things shape up as you see them?
I think the Mets came out of spring training with a pretty trustworthy bullpen, and that's been shown already. And I think Carlos has a lot of trust in the guys up and down this roster. But at the top of the list, obviously, Edwin is the key. I think A.J. Minter showing his health is going to really push him up because he can get left-handers and right-handers out, and he's got a lot of experience. Reed Garrett, huge moment the other day, coming in, solid. Stanek. Budo, I think, is a key because he can throw multiple innings, and he's a guy that you can be trusted. Braziban's been excellent so far this season, and you heard Carlos say he could be used in multiple roles. The guy that's an interesting one, Max Kranick. He was so good in a big situation. He and Danny Young, I think, are on the bubble as far as any moves being made potentially. If the guy that's the wild card on the bottom, to me, Daniel Nunez, that guy, when he's healthy, is going to be back in this rotation somewhere. So where is it going to have a hole punch? Either, unless somebody doesn't get hurt, it's going to have to be one of those guys at the bottom. And right now, Max Kranick has done a lot ever in spring training and his first outings of the year to show that he is a guy that can be relied upon.
I think Braziban's one of those guys who could potentially go back down. I think he's got options left. But I do want to ask you, as I look at the top here, you've got Reed Garrett. Is there any reason that you've got him above Ryan Stanek? When I look at that, I think, well, it's Minter and Stanek as the guys to get to Diaz, and then Garrett maybe that step below.
Yeah, and there's really no reason for that. They're all considered setup guys for me, and they're not necessarily ranked in the order of who I trust. But you heard Carlos Mendoza say that he'll use Stanek and Garrett interchangeably in high leverage spots earlier in the game, depending on matchups. So I think both of those guys have shown versatility and plus stuff.
Well, I certainly think David Stearns has done a terrific job in building this bullpen that has been certainly formidable early in the season and figures to be throughout the year. So we've got more to get to as you get you set for the middle game of this 3-game series, Mets and the Marlins. Kodai Senga making his much anticipated season debut tonight. Todd's going to let us know what to look for the man with the ghost fork that is just ahead here as we get you set. And then once again, Francisco Lindor, not in the lineup last night, back in the lineup for the Mets tonight, looking to snap an 0-for-11 skid to begin his 2025 campaign. We're coming right back.
Citi Pregame Live is brought to you by Citi. Feel the joy of earning unlimited 2% cash back. 1% when you buy and 1% as you pay with the Citi Double Cash Card. Learn more at Citi.com/doublecash.
Toyota. Let's go places.
Really good pitching matchup down in Miami tonight. Sandy Alcantara, the former Cy Young Award winner, going to be on the mound for the Marlins. And then Kodai Senga gets the start for the Mets, his first of the season. Once again, in case you missed it, Sean Manaea, he has suffered a bit of a setback. Manaea, who was hoping to be back on the mound for the Mets at the end of the month, he has been shut down from throwing for at least the next couple of weeks after an MRI showed further inflammation in his oblique. And right now it is time for this date in Mets history, and it was on this date 6 years ago, April 1st, 2019. Pete Alonso hit his first major league home run. It was a 3-run bomb out in center field against the Marlins down in Miami. Pete went on to hit 53 home runs that season, setting a new major league rookie record. And following his grand slam last night, Pete now has 227 home runs in his career. That is 25 behind Darryl Strawberry for the franchise lead, and he's now 15 behind David Wright for second place on the Mets all-time list. And right now it is time for Storylines. Those are presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. Place your bet for the 2025 baseball season. You can earn up to 10% fan cash back on your bets. That's win or lose. Spend fan cash on hats, on jerseys, T-shirts, or bonus bets. Step up to the plate now for exclusive offers from Fanatics Sportsbook all season long. In tonight's same-game parlay, which is available now on the Fanatics Sportsbook app. It is both Kodai Senga and Sandy Alcantara to get at least 5 strikeouts in the game. We're also adding no-run first inning to the parlay, and it's a parlay that pays out at plus 250. Here's the manager of the Mets, Carlos Mendoza, a short time ago on what Senga means to this Mets team.
Yeah, he's a big part of this team. He's a big part of the rotation. You know, we saw what he was able to do in 2023. He basically became the ace of the team, and not having him last year hurt, you know. But he knows it. Everybody knows it, and our goal is, you know, to keep it that way. You know, making sure that he's continue to throw the ball well, continues to recover, and keep him healthy throughout the year.
Well, Kodai Senga is huge for this Mets team. When he's at his best, what does he do so well?
Well, like we did with Sandy Alcantara, got to take a look back, really, to kind of get a feel for how good Kodai Senga was and the adjustments that he's made already in his early tenure as a big league pitcher. And go back to his first start down there in Miami. We remember this one. He was in trouble right away, and he got that ghost fork to get him out of trouble. We saw that right away. We had heard about it, and we saw it in effect. He struck out 8 on the day with a lot of ghost fork pitches that were very, very unhittable. And you see all counts where he's way ahead in the count going to it. Well, the second half, he had to make an adjustment because guys started keying on that ghost fork. And this is where I saw him mature. And you see this one start against the Diamondbacks, strikes out 11 in this start, 5 of them on called third strikes on the fastball. That was the adjustment that made him into a complete pitcher, was where he didn't have to utilize that ghost fork to remain effective. And he could use the fastball, that four-seamer clocking in at 98, 99 miles an hour at times, with the sweeper, a cutter, and the occasional curveball to go with the ghost fork. It gave him a better arsenal to attack, and it got him deeper into games because he wasn't always nibbling with his other stuff. He was going right at guys with the fastball, utilizing the ghost fork when he needed it, but utilizing the other pitches to get outs as well.
So he made just that one start in the regular season last year and then made a few appearances in the postseason. But tonight, when he first takes the mound, what are you looking for?
I'm looking to see where he is from a velocity standpoint. Want to make sure that his health is there, and it may be 94, 95. I wouldn't be surprised to see him top out at 97, 98, when he gets a little adrenaline. But I want to see some rhythm out of him. I want to see some confidence out of him. I think there's no real reason. There hasn't been a great explanation why it's taken so long, or they've taken such time to get him ready to go. So I'm expecting to see the Kodai Senga that we wanted to see a couple of years ago.
How does it change the equation for the Mets rotation if he does return to 2023 form?
Look, if he's the guy that's back, then all of a sudden you've got a guy that's kind of been discounted right now from this rotation standpoint to being put right back at the top of that rotation as a bona fide ace. He showed that he was in 2023, and if he can return to that form, the Mets rotation just got a lot better.
It probably gets even a little bit more important with the news of Sean Manaea today, and of course Frankie Montas still on the shelf. So they need Kodai Senga to step up big. Todd and I back in a moment as we close in on game time down in Miami. The Mets looking to wrap up their first series victory of the season. Kodai Senga, Sandy Alcantara facing off. Francisco Lindor looking for his first hit of the season. And we're back to wrap up City Pregame Live after this. There we go, my friends. It is your city. Heads up. Kodai Senga has struck out more Marlins than he has any other team. Sandy Alcantara induced a lot of ground balls in his first start of the season, and Juan Soto's got a career 860 OPS against Sandy Alcantara. The lineup is right behind us. Todd, I'm interested to know your take on Luis Angel Acuna getting the start at second base in place of Brett Beatty with the right-hander Alcantara on the mound.
A little surprised. I thought they would be platooning pretty much straight up and down, but I think Acuna's in there for his defense. They're expecting some ground balls. That at least has been the explanation. And look, I like this lineup. Juan Soto, one of the few guys that's done well against Sandy. I think Jesse Winker's going to have himself a game. If I'm being put on the spot, Gary, as a pick to click, I'm going to say Jesse. But don't forget about Lindor, because he's had good success even when Sandy was the Cy Young Award winner. Got him for a couple of dogs, so you never know.
How important for Lindor to get off the schneid, finally get himself a hit? It's important, but I don't think it's critical. I think he always starts slow. He would love to get himself a hit, get himself some participation in this offense right now, but it's going to be a hard-fought game against Sandy. I've got to figure it's on his mind a little bit, right? 0 for 11 to start the season?
Yeah, but, I mean, yes, it's on everybody's mind, but I don't think that means start pressing. Go out and do what you do.
All right, Todd and I back for the post-game show when it's over. Right now, it is time for Mets baseball. Gary and Keith on the call. Enjoy it.
He's the biggest X factor for the Mets in 2025. After a brilliant rookie season in 23, Kodai Senga missed almost all of last season. Now he makes his first start of 2025 tonight. At Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida, the New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Miami. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez joins me in just a moment as the Mets play Game 2 of their series with the Marlins. Kodai Senga goes to the mound for the Mets tonight, and with the news earlier today that Sean Manaea is going to be out at least until late May, maybe early June after a setback in his rehab, Kodai Senga becomes an even more important piece for the Mets in 2025. In 2023, he made his debut on this field 2 years ago tomorrow, and he pitched a gem against the Marlins, allowed just 1 run over 5 2/3, struck out 8, and gave the Mets a taste of what was to come. He wound up number 2 in the Rookie of the Year balloting in the National League in 2023 behind the Diamondbacks' Corbin Carroll, and his ghost fork became a novelty. The league hit only 110 against that pitch, and Senga had established himself as one of the important pieces for the Mets going forward. However, last year in spring training, he went down with a shoulder problem. He was out until late July when he made 1 start against the Braves. He pitched great, looked like the Senga of old, but then he hurt his calf coming off the mound, and that was it for Senga's regular season. He came back in the postseason, made 3 appearances, had an ERA over 12. Things did not go particularly well, and this spring, Kodai has kind of been shielded from big league competition. His last start came against minor league competition, and we didn't see much of his forkball. So what is there to glean from what we've seen and expect from Senga?
Well, it's a little bit of a mystery. You don't know what you're going to get from Kodai. Will he hold up to the rigors of 32 starts in a season? He pitched only 9 innings in spring training, but Mendy said that he was satisfied with his progress. He's ready to go. He's going to have 75 pitches a day. We're going to watch very carefully, and he didn't use the ghost fork that much, like Gary said. We'll see how he attacks the hitters today.
The Marlins have a mystery of their own. Sandy Alcantara was the Cy Young Award winner in the National League in 2022, struggled in 23, then had Tommy John surgery, missed all of last season.
Well, his first start against the Pirates, he went 4 2/3 of no-hit shutout ball, and they got to him in the 5th. They stole 4 bases off him. We'll see if the Mets attack him with the stolen base, but he's got the hard sinker, the hard slider. He's a former Cy Younger a couple years ago.
So 2 pitchers who their teams hope will be their aces go head-to-head with a lot of question marks surrounding them. Mets and Marlins coming up on SNY.
And what was your major?
Dance.
Oh.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by your local Honda dealers. Contact your local Honda dealer today. By Citi, for each Mets home run at Citi Field, Citi will donate $2,000 to No Kid Hungry. By the New York Lottery, get out there and play. And by Tri-State Cadillac dealers, spring is the season for new beginnings. Visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer today. Enjoy no fees on single game tickets to Mets home games in April and May. Offer ends Monday, April 7th. Restrictions apply. Go to Mets.com/no fees now. Your PNC Bank slow moments. Mets hit 4 home runs last night. Here are 2 of them. Pete Alonso going the other way. 3 of his 4 postseason home runs last year were to the opposite field. His grand slam was likewise. And Luis Torrens with a little help from his friend Derek Hill. Tip in. Still counts for 2 points. There's a 2-run homer, you know. That's the Marlins' first pitch coming up. Opening week presented by PNC Bank, and for the first time in this opening week, the Mets will play a game under sky, not under a roof. The roof is open at Lone Depot Park. On a starting lineup for the Mets, Francisco Lindor, after taking the day off yesterday following the birth of his son, is back in the lineup today. Luis Angel Acuna gets a start at second base against a right-hander. Interesting. Yesterday was Marte starting against a right-hander, so Brett Beatty on the bench as a left-handed bat. And there you see the glory of the open roof of Lone Depot Park.
And there you see the 2022 Cy Young Award winner in the National League, Sandy Alcantara. Last season was not having a good year. They shut him down in September, excuse me. Tommy John surgery. He's back. And his second start. As I mentioned in the open, the Pirates stole 4 bases off of him. So keep an eye on that. Hard sinker, 4-seamer, hard slider. Great change.
First pitch of the night from Alcantara is a fastball that's in for a strike, and we're underway. Francisco Lindor looking for his first hit of the season. The last time he returned from the birth of a child was in June of 2023 when his daughter Amapola was born. That day, he appeared as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning and was hit by a pitch. The next day, his first at bat against the Cardinals on Father's Day, he hit a home run. Let's see how he responds to being a boy dad. And he takes the changeup from Alcantara, who didn't get the call from the home plate umpire Mark Wegner.
Boy, just missed if it did. He's thrown all 3 pitches to Lindor here. And
pulled down the ground down to first as Lindor broke his bat. Matt Mervis makes the play for the first out of the night.
And the Marlin defense represented by Catholic Health. You've got Otto Lopez at second base. He's a nice little player. Mervis getting the start at first base. The veteran Nick Fortes behind the plate. Stowers got some pop. Good defensive outfielder. That's Jeff Conine's son out in right field. That's a strong arm.
As Juan Soto 1 for 4 last night in the series opener. He takes a slider at his feet for ball 1. Soto with an 11-15 OPS through the first 4 games of the season. He's got a couple of home runs on his ledger against Alcantara. Mets have battled Alcantara pretty well over his starts. That's grounded down to Mervis. He'll have another play. This time Alcantara covers. So on 2 weak ground balls, Alcantara has the first 2 outs.
Both outs, Gary, against the left-hand hitters on changeup. Sinking changes got Lindor and Soto out in front, grounding out, rolling over to the first baseman.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Pete Alonso, who loves hitting in this ballpark. After his grand slam last night, he has 13 home runs here. Only 1 ballpark he's had more, and he's reached base safely 19 straight games at this ballpark. And he takes fastball outside for ball 1. See what he's done against Alcantara, and the answer is not much.
That's a 156 batting average, but he's one of the best.
Lofts one foul.
By the way, Gary, I don't know if you noticed, but I can tell, I'm sure you can too, he's throwing hard. And I haven't seen any sink on that fastball, Gary. He's throwing a 4-seamer.
Yeah, he'll throw both. But his velocity is definitely not what it was at his apex. That's grounded down to third. Good sinker there from Alcantara. And Paulie throws out Alonso, so 3 ground ball outs, and the Mets are done in the first. Senga to the mound.
Only at KFC.
Hyundai starting lineup for the Marlins. Kyle Stowers moves into the 2 slot. Otto Lopez, who homered last night, bats third. Griffin Conine gets the start in right field. This is a young and inexperienced lineup that faces Kodai Senga.
And there's his Toyota numbers for the 23 season. That fantastic splash he made in the National League and Major League Baseball. His career, he's had 4 starts against the Marlins. He's 3-0 with a 2.42 earned run average. He's had success against the Marlins.
It'll be chronicled during the Open. He made his Major League debut on this field 2 years ago tomorrow. Xavier Edwards leads off and fouls back the first fastball from Senga. Edwards 0 for 3 last night, off to a 3 for 18 start. But this is a guy who had 328 over 70 games last year and is expected to be a huge piece for the Marlins going forward.
We get to see him hit left-handed. He's a switch hitter.
And he hammers this one into right center field for a base hit. Soto gets over, cuts it off. Edwards going to try for 2. The throw by Soto not in time. And Edwards has a 2-base hit to start the bottom of the first.
Boy, Edwards is a fine little hitter. Hit 328 last year. Oh, look at him level off on that pitch below the letters, above the waist. And I tell you what, if Juan doesn't get to that ball, that's got trips written all over it.
Did a great job cutting that ball off. Edwards with his second double of the year. When Senga has struggled in his big league career, it's generally been in the first inning. There's Kyle Stowers playing left field tonight. Stowers was part of the return last year when the Marlins traded away Trevor Rogers at the deadline. They got back Connor Norby, who's going to be their everyday third baseman once he gets healthy. And they got Stowers, who is a big power threat. And Stowers hits one to deep right center field. Siri back to the warning track, right at the wall. It's out of here. Kyle Stowers with a 2-run homer and 2 batters into the first inning. Kodai Senga and the Mets are down 2-0. Both on Stowers' first home run of the year. He had 3 in 69 games last year, and he crashed that one into the greenery in right center.
Well, 2 left-hand hitters leading the way. It's a left-handed lineup against Senga, and it's another high fastball down the pipe, belt high, right or down the pipe-a-roni, folks.
Now, when Senga came back for the postseason last year and was shockingly inserted to start game 1 of the division series against the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber took him deep leading off that game.
Boy, the ball's carrying here too. Just nothing but bombs in this series.
Otto Lopez had 3 hits, including an opposite field home run last night. And there's a slider for a strike, and it's 1-1.
And not only an opposite field home run, but off the facing down the right field line. I didn't know he had that kind of pop.
Lopez, it's a slow ground ball down to Vientos, and he throws him out, and Senga has his first out.
Okay, your city defense for the Metsies. Acuna getting the start. That's because with the left-hand hitting lineup, Mendoza told us before the game with Senga and the split finger, he wanted more defense out there. So that's why that's getting the start. Series, more of a low ball hitter, and you got a sinker ball pitcher. He's in center. You don't lose anything defensively out in center with Siri.
There's Matt Mervis, who takes the first pitch sweeper for a strike. Mervis acquired from the Cubs after cups of coffee with Chicago the last 2 years. Goes after a high fastball, misses, and it's 0-2. Mervis was undrafted out of Duke. That was the 2020 drafts. There were only 5 rounds, so a lot of players were non-drafted free agents that year. Grew up in Washington, D.C. and hoping to be the most of the time first baseman for Miami this year. Sat last night against the lefty. They had Jonah Bride playing first base. Bride is DHing today. There's going to be a lot of mixing and matching for the Marlins this year under their first-year manager Clayton McCullough. Interesting to watch Senga and see how much he mixes in his forkball, which he threw 33% of the time his rookie year. And it was such an effective pitch for him. The league hit 110 against it. But we barely saw him throw it in his few spring training outings this year, so we don't know how much confidence he's gotten at this point. It's part of the mystery surrounding Senga to start this year. There's the fork ball, and it's pulled down to first. Great play by Alonso. Gets to his feet and throws him out. Beautifully done by Alonso. So there was the fork ball from Senga, and he gets the ground ball from Mervis for the second out.
Nice play by Pete. Oh gosh, and the music was, the SNY music was blasting.
Well, last night Brett Beatty forgot how many outs there were and was running from second base with 1 out and nearly got doubled off. Our truck just got doubled off in the first inning.
Guys in the truck, I suggest you look in the scoreboard and see how many outs there are.
What they need is Nimmo, because Nimmo, after every play, signals how many outs there are. Here's Griffin Conine. Conine came off the bench last night and went 1 for 2. Another Duke University product. He and Mervis were teammates in college. Conine was drafted by the Blue Jays and kicked around for a few years before landing with the Marlins, for whom his dad played at a Hall of Fame caliber and was part of both World Series championships. Griffin was born in 1997 during that first Marlins run. And breaking ball hit down to first, a foul ball.
Ooh,
I don't know about that.
So interesting, the defense on the infield with these left-hand hitters playing the pull for the split finger, which is a ball much like Alcantara's changeup, getting the left-handers out in front. That is Senga's game with that ghost fork. It's also Alcantara's game with the changeup, both to left-handers.
Mets looked very confused about that foul ball call, unless it came off Conine's foot, but I don't think it did. This one's popped up into shallow left. On comes Nimmo to call. And Brandon puts it away, and now cue the music.
And a 1 and a 2 and a 3.
2-0 Marlins.
With gourmet food, wine, and spirits. Book your suite now.
Brendan Nimmo leads off the second inning for New York and takes up and away from Sandy Alcantara, who's now been staked to a 2-0 lead, courtesy of a Kyle Stowers 2-run homer. Nimmo had one of the Mets' 4 home runs last night, but he's never had much luck against Alcantara. Just 4 hits in 30 career at-bats. Keith chronicled, Alcantara was world-beating in 2022 when he won the Cy Young, but then had a very rough 2023. Right from the beginning of that season, he never seemed quite right, and when the season ended, he had Tommy John surgery early October of 23, hoping to be back for opening day this year, and he was. Nimmo cracks one to deep right field. That ball's heading toward the wall and out of here. Brandon Nimmo with his second home run in 2 nights to cut the Marlins lead to 2-1. Well, the Mets, who had all the long ball last night, got a leadoff home run from Brandon Nimmo to make it 2-1.
2 back-to-back changeups. First one he got over the middle of the plate. There's you see this right down the middle. If you stay back and that ball's doesn't get it on the outside corner, it's over the middle. If you stay back, it's lights out.
Vientos hits the sinker on the ground to short, and Edwards throws him out, one away.
So watch the balance, no lunging, and stayed back on that changeup. Mistake by Alcantara.
And Alcantara is right. He does not give up very many home runs. In his Cy Young season, he led the league throwing 228 2/3 innings, which is unheard of these days, and gave up only 16 home runs that year. So it's instructive that 4 of the first 5 hitters have hit ground balls, but the mistake by Alcantara left the ballpark. Jesse Winker in the lineup after sitting last night. 1 for 6 to start the year. And he tops one foul on a curveball from Alcantara, 1-2.
I'll be very curious. We'll keep in mind how he will attack Nimmo next time as he's up.
Alcantara did not give up an earned run in spring training in 5 outings, and he was working shutout ball into the 5th inning on opening day as Winker goes down swinging on a curveball in the dirt, and that's the 2nd out for a strikeout for Alcantara. Sandy Alcantara started out in the Cardinals organization, came over in 2017 in the deal that sent Marcell Ozuna to St. Louis, and what a deal that has turned out to be for Miami. However, there's much talk around the Marlins that perhaps Alcantara will be dealt before too terribly long. Now, it's not a typical situation where a player is in the final year of his contract. He is signed for next year plus a team option for 2027. So any team that would acquire Alcantara would get him for this year and potentially 2 more.
Do you remember the dollar figure on that contract?
It was like 5 years, $55 million, something very, very reasonable.
Well, guess what? He's 29. He's set for life.
Well, I think the more interesting part about it, though, is from the standpoint of the Marlins, why they would consider trading him when he's under team control for 2 more years at a relatively reasonable price. Ground ball hit to short, and Edwards is there, and the answer is that they're trying to get back a prospect package that can set them up for years to come. 2-1 Marlins in the
Drive luxury one for around $489 per month.
Well, David Peterson made his season debut last night, gave up a couple of solo home runs, but 9 strikeouts over 6 innings and wound up the winning pitcher.
He was brilliant, and the work in progress was his slider. He had a terrific year last year. He had a good slider, that back foot slider that gets so many strikeouts against the right-hand hitters. And ever since the hip surgery, he has been phenomenal.
And he was the beneficiary of much run support. Jonah Bryant leads off the second against Kodai Senga and takes a fastball for a strike. So we mentioned that Senga has struggled in first innings. With the 2 runs that he gave up in the first inning tonight, his career ERA in the first inning is now 4.65, the highest of any inning. As the forkball, and Bryant does well to lay off at a ball and strike. Bryant was 1 for 3 last night, 2 for 18 to start the season, DHing tonight. He played third base, first base. And another breaking ball, that time in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
No, there's his circle that makes it a slider gear and expanded the strike zone. That ball's out of the strike zone.
I mean, he's got 2 pitches that he can play off each other going down, the slider and the forkball. And he's got the cutter that he throws into the left-hand batters. Got the ghost on the glove. And a strikeout on a forkball. There's the first strikeout of the season for Kodai Senga. 1 down in the second.
Good ones. Back to back. There you go. Look at his head tilted. Looks like he's looking up into the grandstands there behind first base dugout. Look at that thing drop off. You got, as a hitter, you've got to make him get that splitter up. Not so easy.
Graham Pauley, and he takes a slider for a strike. Pauley 1 for 3 last night. Rookie who started out in the San Diego organization. Played a handful of games for the Padres last year. And that breaking ball misses high, 1-1. Came over in the Tanner Scott deal last summer. Here's a good forkball by Senga, and it's 1-2. Last year, or 2 years ago, when Senga burst on the scene, the biggest issue he had was adapting to the new baseball. The Japanese baseball has more tackiness to it, and the American baseball is much smoother. So he had to figure out where the release point was for that forkball and how to hang on to it long enough to make it work. And I'd say his first dozen starts in the big leagues, he would routinely bounce 5 or 6 forkballs early in the game trying to get the feel for it. But as the season went along, he adapted, and he got better and better as the year went along with his control. And another forkball to strike out Pauley. So back-to-back strikeouts with the ghost fork for Kodai Senga. 2 down.
Watch his glove, folks, how it inverts. Right there. Interesting. He's got the ghost working, and the Marlin hitters are helping him out here. If they're going to do this all day, that's what they're going to get until they lay off.
You know, it's almost like what they talk about trying to hit a knuckleball. If it's low, let it go. If it's high, let it fly. Because if you see that forkball at the knees, it's not going to be a strike. Dane Myers playing center field tonight.
When I faced, I had good success off Bruce Sutter. Very good success. I was a left-hand hitter. I always, the ball out of his hand, the elevation. If it was mid-thigh, it was going to up. It was going to be a strike. Mid-thigh and below, it was going to be a ball. That's how I gauged it.
Fastball for a strike to Myers, 2-1. Myers 1 for 3 last night. He's off to a good start. 6 hits and 15 at bats. Played right field last night, center field tonight. They're still waiting for Jesus Sanchez to come back. And a bouncing ball hit slowly. Lindor bobbles it. And Myers is safe at first. It was going to be a tough play to make against the speed of Myers. But Lindor had to glance off the glove. And the inning continues.
That's a play that he makes 99 out of 100 times, maybe 999 out of 1,000. It happens. They rule an error, Gary?
Yes. There appears to be an error on the scoreboard, and yes, the official score confirms. Here's Nick Fortes. Senga has had limited experience working with the disengagement rules. Runner goes, pitch inside, throw to second by Torrens on the money, and he got him. Luis Torrens, you do not want to run on this cat. What a perfect throw, and Acuna with the tag to get Myers. And let's check out your New York 811 digging deep moment of the game. Look at Luis Torrens.
Well, Gary, when you dig deep like that, you got great pop time, and look at the throw, all with that digging deep.
He dug deep. Luis Angel Acuna leads off against Sandy Alcantara, and the corners come in a few steps as Acuna takes a strike. Luis Angel got the start at shortstop last night with Lindor sitting out, playing second base tonight. It's only the 6th start in the big leagues against a right-handed pitcher for Acuna, who had been presumed to be in a platoon with Brett Beatty, but Beatty sitting tonight and Acuna in there.
Opting for defense.
Slashes one foul. Acuna, of course, is from Venezuela, and probably the two most celebrated Mets from Venezuela in their history are in the ballpark tonight.
Yes.
Edgardo Alfonso and Johan Santana.
I didn't see Edgardo, but I saw Johan.
That's rifle to right field, over toward the corner. It's going to get down for a base hit, and it hops over the wall for a ground rule double for Luis Angel Acuna, his first extra base hit of the season. So in there against the right-hander, he goes the other way.
Watch him stay. He stays level on the high pitch. He is not an uppercutter, and that's why he hit that bullet down the right field line.
Well, second straight inning, the Mets have led off the inning with an extra base hit. Nemo homered leading off the second. There's Johan Santana, forever etched into Mets lore. Jose Siri takes a fastball inside. Siri had a double and an RBI last night. It was his double that gave the Mets the lead for good in their 7-run 5th inning.
Note that. Oh. They got a holding on Acuna tight there. Lopez is right behind him. Remember, these Pirates stole 4 bases off of Alcantara. in his first start.
We'll be wary about trying to steal third with nobody out.
Yeah, exactly.
With the top of the order on deck.
Still, you got to play tight.
And slider fouled off by Siri. A ball and 2 strikes.
And Alcantara, if you look at his motion, Garrett, from the stretch, he's slow and methodical coming home.
Yeah, he still uses the leg kick. Doesn't have much of a slide step.
He's 6'5", and he's all legs. Well, a little over half legs.
I mean, if you were all legs, it would be hard to pitch. He's ahead 1-2 on Siri with Lindor on deck. And Siri hits one on the ground. That'll advance the runner. So a productive out from Siri as Lopez throws him out and Acuna goes to third.
And that was Siri's intent right there. To hit the ball the other way to advance the runner, if not drive him in.
And he gets congratulations for a team first play.
That's a silver medal, Gareth, not the gold, but the silver's pretty good too.
Well, the Marlins going to bring their infield in, working with a 2-1 lead in the third with Francisco Lindor at the plate, looking for his first hit of the season. Lindor broke his bat and grounded out to first base on a changeup his first time. And he's got the torpedo bat. You can see
there it is.
With
yes,
the bulge at the sweet spot.
I have
tapered toward the end.
I have no issue with the torpedo bat.
First pitch slider, and he yanks one foul.
You can see right there, it's a little more of a. It balloons out a little bit, closer to the label.
Well, as Jazz Chisholm said, there's more wood where you're trying to do your business, and less where you don't. Another slider at the feet of Lindor, and Fortes stops it, a ball and a strike.
I originally thought, when I read about and heard about the torpedo bat, I thought it was going down to the label, and I thought that was wrong, but I was wrong. And
well,
as I read more, I realized
that's the way it was initially described, but I think that was inaccurate. 3 straight sliders from Alcantara, and he falls behind on Lindor 2-1. But Senga always replicating his pitching motion. Such a stickler for his mechanics. Gave up a couple of extra base hits in the first inning, but put up a 0 in the second. And Lindor badly fooled on that back foot breaking ball, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, he was looking for a piece of cheese right there, Garrett. 2-1 ahead in the count.
He's got 4 straight breaking balls from Alcantara, who needs a strikeout in this spot to try and hold the lead with the infield in. 2-2 coming, and the fastball away. 3-2. Juan Soto looming on deck. I mean, this is such an advantage for Lindor, having Soto standing there behind him. On the ground up the middle, base hit, and that'll tie up the game. Acuna comes in to score. Francisco Lindor has his first hit of the season, and it had a run with it. Boy, dad's strength, just enough to get it up the middle past the diving Edwards, and it's 2-2.
The Mets have had good approach to Alcantara. Can't try to pull him, just out of the reach of Edwards.
There you go. Last year he started out 0 for 24. This year 0 for 12. And Soto smacks one to center field, but right there is Myers to make the catch. Soto hit a bullet, but Myers right there to grab it for the second out.
I mean, Soto so far this season has made a lot of loud outs. I mean, not a lot, but of his outs.
He doesn't have a lot of soft contact in this game.
No, I mean, they're loud.
So 2 out, Lindor at first. Let's see if he tries to steal a base here, noting Alcantara's trouble holding runners. And Alonso fouls one off his leg, 0-1. Well, this was Pete last night with the bases loaded.
Well, he came into the series with no RBIs, and with one fell swoop or swing, 4 ribeye steaks.
I know that was a sinker, and the pitch he hit against Devin Williams was a changeup, but the location of those pitches was just about the same. There goes Lindor, and Fortes can't handle Lindor. Lindor went diving into second, so no advance. He's got his first stolen base of the year, and the Mets third.
They had no chance to throw him out. I knew. The Mets are going to attack him if they get on base with the stolen base.
Pirates went 4 for 4 stealing bases against Alcantara on opening day. Nonetheless, the Marlins won that game and took 3 out of 4 in that series. Alonso wouldn't chase the slider, and it's 2-1.
Yeah, the Mets did not hit in Houston, but I tell you what, they hit last night, and it was only 3 games, but they've been pretty good with not allowing the pitcher to expand the strike zone.
2-1 coming, and Alonso lifts one foul. Can I ask you a question? Can you believe where Kyle Stowers is playing in left field against Pete Alonso?
Oh, wow, he's shallow. Oh, how about the center fielder and the right fielder?
But I mean, to the pull side, you're going to play that shallow against Alonso?
You're going to play that shallow in center and right?
I guess they figure if he hits it over their heads, it's going out of the ballpark.
Wow, I didn't know. Garrett, nothing gets past you.
I mean, it's a pretty big ballpark, and although there have been home runs flying out of here in these first 2 games, this is generally a pretty good pitcher's park. So you'd think you'd want to play a little bit deeper and take away the extra base hit.
Do you think that they're doing this because of this hard sinker that Alcantara has that induces ground balls?
And that just missed. That's a tough curveball to take, but Alonso took it, and Mark Wegner called it a ball, and now it's 3-2. Brandon Nimmo on deck. Nimmo homered his first time up tonight. That's we're down 2-0, but they've tied it with a run in the second and a run here in the third. And Alonso just got a piece and screws himself into the ground.
Oh, off the foot.
Fortunately, I think it got him on the ankle guard.
You know, after you get hit on the ankle or the shin without a guard, your foot shakes when you get up to the plate, and it's disconcerting to say the least.
Well, that's what that sinker will do to you. This will be the 8th pitch of the at bat from Alcantara to Alonso, with Lindor at second and 2 out. And Pete hits a ground ball down to third, handled there by Paulie. And the throw in time to get Alonso and end the inning. Lindor's RBI single ties the game. It's
never ordinary at Bet365.
2-2 game as we go to the bottom of the third. Nick Fortes leads off against Kodai Senga. Fortes was at the plate when Dane Myers was thrown out trying to steal by Luis Torrens to end the second. And then the Mets proceeded to tie the game in the top of the third. Fortes always seems to get big hits against the Mets. And hits this one deep down the left field line. It'll hook and go foul.
Oh, the ball's really jumping.
I mean, he's only hit 23 home runs in his career across 5 seasons. But he's hit 3 or 4 of them against the Mets, including a walk-off a couple of years ago. He's off to a good offensive start this year.
Oh, the ball's just flying.
Well, off the end of the bat, that's going to stay along the line, but Alonso can't get to it before it kicks foul, and it's 1-2.
Ah, beautiful.
Just a beautiful day in Florida.
Absolutely.
Last year they only opened the roof a dozen times the entire season. This is already the 5th time in 6 games that they've had it open this year.
It's nice. It's a whole different atmosphere. You feel like you're in an echo chamber.
Of course, in the summertime when it gets hot and humid and you have thunderstorms every day, then you're happy to have the roof. On a beautiful day like today, what is better than having outdoor baseball?
It feels like when the roof's on closed, it feels like that old movie Journey to the Center of the Earth with Pat Boone, if you recall. You're like down in the depths of Mordor.
See that? I don't know that movie. It's a good fork ball by Senga, and he strikes out Fortes. That's his 3rd strikeout. They've all come on the ghost fork. I was a particular fan of Fantastic Voyage.
That was wonderful.
With Raquel Welch. Well, they went inside the person's body.
Yeah, that was very.
Them.
Yes, that was a heck of a film. There was also Lost World that I liked, which was the guy Arthur Conan Doyle wrote that, which I didn't know. It was one of my favorites. That dinosaurs.
Okay. Actually, this past winter, I watched, I'd never seen it before. Remember the series Lost? From like 20 years ago?
No.
Yeah. Watched the whole thing. It was pretty good the first couple of seasons, then it got completely ridiculous. Swing and a miss by Edwards, and it's 1-1. Edwards doubled into the gap in right center, leading off the game, scored in front of Kyle Stowers' home run. So I think we've run through our Lost repertoire.
Yep. Oh, that's
strike at the letters with a cutter, and it's 1-2.
You saw the original Thing, the original?
I did not.
James Arness was the Thing. Scared the.
I'm familiar with Thing from the Addams Family.
Oh yes.
Right.
Right. And Cousin It.
Thing was the hand that came out of the box.
Right. Cousin It.
And you know what his full name was?
No.
And there's another forkball for a strikeout. 4 of the last 5 batters have been punched out by Senga, all of them on the fork. He's got that splitter going, and the Marlins, young Marlin hitters, just haven't figured it out. It's not strikes. That's the beauty of that pitch. He tantalizes them. He's doing this on purpose, folks. It's very tantalizing. Kind of like Thing. So Thing's full name was Thing T Thing. Okay. And you know what the T stood for? No. Thing. Okay. You know whose hand it was? No. It was Lurch's hand. Was it really? Yes. You're right. We're being silly. Oh. And Stowers goes after a high fastball. Okay. Senga's got it all working now after a rough beginning. He's up the ladder with the fastball, the four-seamer, and then the splitter down in the strike zone. Oh, 0-2 to Stowers. And he struck him out with the forkball. Torrens retrieves. Side retired. Senga strikes out the side in the 3rd inning. After 3, it's 2-2.
MSRP under $30,000.
Your live same-game parlay presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. Earn up to 10% fan cash back on your bets, win or lose. Use fan cash on team gear on Fanatics.com or bonus bets in the Fanatics Sportsbook app. Stay tuned for exclusive offers all season long. And guys, Steve Gelb's here, welcoming you back to the fourth inning with Brandon Nimmo up. And I thought that I should welcome you back into the broadcast tonight with a little Voltaire and the saying, perfect is the enemy of good, because that is something that the Mets coaching staff, specifically Jeremy Barnes, has been saying to Brandon Nimmo a lot over the last year or so. Nimmo is such a perfectionist that it often works against him. And last year was a prime example. The first half of the season, best stretch of Nimmo's career. The second half of the season, worst stretch of Nimmo's career. And why? It's because coming out of the All-Star break, Brandon Nimmo faced some less than stellar teams, the Marlins being one of them, and did not perform all that well. And instead of saying, you know what, these are big league pitchers, doesn't matter how the team's performing, he got in his head and he started tinkering and tinkering and tinkering and changing his swing, and ended up going down a rabbit hole where his swing was unrecognizable, and then they had to work back to get to what he was doing in the first half. It took a couple of months. And so for Nimmo, the key this season and the goal this season is just remain consistent, trust your work, trust what's always worked for you, and not get too in your head trying to be perfect, because every big league hitter is going to go through a slump no matter who they're facing.
Precisely, Steve. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you're going to go through spells, and just have faith. You're going to come out, and your swing is your swing.
And Nimmo takes strike three called. Curveball got him looking. And Alcantara has his second strikeout of the night. Steve, I just want to say that it did not pass unnoticed. Your Voltaire reference, quite impressive. I love when you go to the quote book. You know what Voltaire also said, and you should know this. This is the best of all possible worlds.
I was going to use that for my second report tonight, but you took it. So
sorry to steal your
It is what it is.
Vientos grounded out to short his first time up.
Vientos is 2 for 16 with his start this year, but he's been swinging the bat good. Hit some balls hard and tough luck.
Hit a few too many ground balls for his liking, and there's another one. It's bobbled by Paulie, and Vientos is out. Vientos had broken it down and was not running 100% down to first base, and that probably cost him.
Sinker gets under the bat. Yep, you're right, Gary. Downshifted.
Obviously did not know that the ball had been bobbled.
And that was a Whitey Herzog stickler to run the balls out. 99 out of 100. It's not going to happen, but when it happens, it's kind of embarrassing.
Well, what's always interesting to me is after a play like that with a young player, and Vientos is still a very young player, does somebody come over and say something to him, or does he know?
Or you wait after the game, maybe. Not right away when he knows. You know, you can wait a half inning, talk to him after the game, whatever. And oh boy, he might have. That was close.
All he had to do was run hard for 2 more steps.
Yep.
And he would have beaten it out. So Winker batting with 2 out and nobody on, down to the count 0-2. Jesse struck out his first time up. One-two coming. And that's upstairs 2-2. Luis Torrens would be next. Alcantara threw 91 pitches on opening day, which is a lot for a guy coming back from Tommy John. And Winker takes a changeup that just missed, and it's 3-2.
And that's part of Winker's game. He draws walks. He's got a good eye at the plate.
He became more aggressive after joining the Mets last year, but he had a terrific year last year getting on base for the Nats and for the Mets. Alcantara goes right back to the changeup to strike him out. So Alcantara has a 1-2-3 inning, and that keeps the game.
let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
See, this is what we get when the roof is open. We get beautiful shots like this of magnificent South Florida sunsets.
Boy.
In the second inning, Luis Torrens sunsetted the Marlins inning with a terrific throw.
Watch the glove go to the hand and for that exchange, and no wasted motion. All one smooth like on an assembly line. Beautiful. He can throw.
It's your All-State good hands play. Otto Lopez hits one to Lindor, who commits his second error of the game. Francisco Lindor committed only 12 errors all of last year, and now he commits his second error of the night on a routine grounder.
I don't think he was prepared for this ground ball. I think it caught him flat-footed. Oh, the ball came up too. I am wrong. He got right in front of it, and the ball came up and hit the heel of his glove.
That's the last thing in the world that you expect. 2 errors from Francisco Lindor in the first 4 innings. Senga got around the first one with Torrens throwing out the base stealer. Now Lopez is aboard with good speed. Matt Mervis the batter. The Mets had committed only 1 error in their first 4 games this year. Now 2 for Lindor early in this game.
Gary, if I was playing today and I was hitting against Senga and observing what he's doing to the left-hand hitters, that he's got that splitter working, I would move up in the plate to catch that sink early, and I would move and make it noticeable. I would get closer to the plate and then dare him to throw me in.
Senga behind 2-0 on Mervis, who has good power. Misses inside with a cutter, and it's 3-0. Do you see any hitters these days changing their positions in the batter's box?
Nope. If you've got someone that's got something going on, and then you've got to, it's a tactical move. You go into the game with a strategy, but sometimes you got the tactics change everything.
Mervis swinging 3-0, and he yanks one foul. Senga had himself a magnificent rookie season.
Sure did.
Second in the National League in ERA, finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting. He struck out over 200 batters, the first Met rookie since Doc Gooden to do that. Mervis hit a hard ground ball behind first, and Alonso made a terrific play and threw him out in the first inning. This time Alonso holding against the runner, not playing as deep. Mervis fouls back a hanging cutter, and it's 3-2.
No, there was
had a pitch to hit there.
That was the ball. 3-1. You miss it and you go, darn. Give him another chance to make a pitch.
Clayton McCullough, first-year manager of the Marlins, former Dodger coach. A little different side of the world managing the Marlins versus being the first base coach for the World Series champions. 3-2, nobody out. Lopez not running, and it's grounded foul outside first. The Dodgers are off to a rollicking start. They're 6-0. If they win tonight, if they beat Atlanta, they'll become the first defending World Series champion to start the season 7-0 since the 1933 Yankees.
Wow. That would be the Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig era. Tony Lazzari.
At the other end of the spectrum are the Braves. The Dodgers will be trying to beat for their 7th win tonight. 0-5. Jurickson Profar suspended for 80 games. Ronaldo Lopez one on the injured list yesterday. But I don't know that they're off to the worst start. That may belong to the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers are 0-4 with a -32 run differential. -32 in 4 games.
Well, they're getting clobbered.
Swing and a miss. Got him with a forkball. And Senga does it again. 6 strikeouts for Senga, all of them on the ghost fork, and that's the first out of the inning as he comes back from 3-0 to get Mervis.
Well, this has been the pitch for him, and this is a strike. This is one of the rare strikeouts that is a strike. It's in the strike zone.
Isn't it funny? We barely saw him throw the forkball all of spring training. Obviously, he was working on it on the side, but not really using it in games. Well, he's unveiled it tonight, and it has been devastating. Conine takes a cutter outside for ball one. By the way, that minus 32 run differential for the Brewers, worst for any team since at least 1901. Double play if they hurry. Acuna to Lindor, back to first, not quite in time. Conine with good enough speed to beat that out. So they get the 4-6 fielder's choice. Conine aboard with 2 out. Stream every out of market game live or on demand. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Oh, and by the way, not only are the Brewers off to that rough start, but tonight they're throwing a first-time starter, Chad Patrick, who had been in their bullpen, but they're so short of pitching, they're going to have to start him tonight.
If the Dodgers beat the Braves, they're going to be 7-0. The Braves are going to be 0-7. Can you believe that?
There's Jonah Bride, who struck out his first time. Ooh. And that cutter just missed somewhere.
Yep, that was a strike.
Mark Wegner with a shrinking strike zone, ball one.
He's got a tight strike zone.
And Bride takes that cutter for a strike, and it's 1-1. Bride struck out his first time up. He was the first of Senga's 6 strikeout victims. The 6 strikeouts came in an 8-batter span. Senga had 56 pitches through 3 2/3. Carlos Mendoza said before the game he'd probably cap Senga at 75. Might be a little bit of wiggle room there. There's a good-looking fastball for a strike. 2-2. He throws that fastball rarely enough that it surprises with its velocity.
Yes, that's the best fastball he's thrown velocity-wise. That had some giddy up.
Rookie year, he threw it 40% of the time. It's less than that tonight. And that forkball misses down.
And that's what you have to do with that fork.
Game starts at 4:40 p.m. tomorrow. Clay Holmes will make his second start of the year. Connor Gillespie goes for the Marlins. And then the Mets go home for their home opener on Friday against Toronto. Outside ball 4. And so Bride draws a walk and the inning continues. It's the first walk given up by Senga.
It's interesting how the Marlins had speed on the bases and didn't, with 3-2 counts, run the runner from first, and that's out of respect for Torrens and his arm and how he throws.
Well, Myers tried to steal in the second and got a pretty good jump, and Torrens threw him out anyway.
Did he throw someone out last night? I think he did. I'm not sure.
He has thrown out 2 this year, but
right.
I don't think he had one last night.
Right, he's thrown out 2. That's in Houston.
He got one in the last game in Houston. He got Altuve.
Right.
So now Graham Pauley, and all of a sudden Senga having trouble throwing strikes with that forkball, and they're starting to lay off it a little bit better.
We'll see if he makes the adjustment. Why throw a strike if they're swinging at it? Now, if they stop, then he'll start throwing it for a strike.
Pauley struck out his first time up. And he hits this one in the air to left center, back in the gap. Nimmo on the run. He won't get there, and it goes all the way back to the wall. Conine will score. Bride around third. He's going to score as well. It's a 2-run double for Graham Pauley, and the Marlins are back in front 4-2. So Pauley, who had a double to right center last night, this time goes the other way and doubles to left center.
Fastball. Oh, it's a cutter that just came down the outer half. He went with it to the opposite field. Those 2-out walks, Gare. 2-out walks and those 2-out RBIs.
Well, don't forget the error that opened up the inning. That'll make both those runs unearned. But Senga having to throw that many more pitches here in the 4th inning, and that could really limit his tenure in this game. Stan Myers takes a strike. Myers reached on Lindor's first error, and that pitch thrown after time was called, and Myers barely able to get his chin out of the way.
Oh my gosh.
I think they called a pitch clock violation on Senga. And Senga was so locked in that he released the ball. Well, that could have been a disaster.
Everybody relaxes, and a little chin music.
A little too relaxed.
It's
not a clock violation on Senga. That makes the count 1-1. And he gets that forkball in for a strike, and it's 1-2. So there's the adjustment you were talking about.
That's a good one, boy. It's like a hard sinker, Gary. That's why I used to always think of the split finger. Don't give it that moniker. Think of it in terms, it's a sinker.
When we had Daniel Murphy on the broadcast, he says there are only two types of pitches: straight and curve.
The one that moves, yes.
Right.
I agree. But the trouble with the splitter is that it doesn't. It comes in like a fastball. You can't read it.
And a swing and a miss at a fastball, and Myers is down on strikes. 7 strikeouts for Senga, but a couple of unearned runs for the Marlins, and they take the lead.
And why?
Get your New York sports here.
Miami Harbor.
Nice.
At sunset. Biscayne Bay.
Gary, you'd look like great in like an admiral's uniform and a Navy hat in one of those yachts.
No, I don't think so. You're thinking of Tony Curtis. Here's your 4th, 5th inning recap. But Senga gave up a 2-run homer in the first inning, couple of unearned runs in the 4th, and the Mets are down 4-2 as they come to bat in the 5th against Sandy Alcantara with the lower third of the order. Luis Torrens takes high for ball 1. Well, Senga forced to throw extra pitches in that last inning because of the error by Lindor. So he's at 65 pitches through 4, so perhaps he gets one more inning. No action as yet in the Mets bullpen. Torrens grounded out to short his first time up. He's off to a good offensive start. He's got 3 extra base hits already. He started every game so far, and it's a chance with a slightly earlier start tomorrow that Hayden Sanger will get his first major league start behind the plate. Swing and a miss, 2-2.
That is a big league changeup right there. Outside corner, knee high. That is going to get a lot of hitters and a lot of good hitters.
2-2 to Torrens. And he chases the changeup for strike 3. So Alcantara has his 4th strikeout, including 3 of the last 4 batters. He's only beaten the Mets 3 times in 15 starts, but in 2021 he had a 14 strikeout game against the Mets and went the distance.
Yeah, that was pretty outstanding, wasn't it, that start?
Also had a game against the Mets in 2019 when he threw a complete game 2-hit shutout in just 89 pitches. Luis Angel Acuna doubled into the right field corner his first time up, and he takes a changeup down. Ball and a strike.
Luis is a free swinger. He's young, but he's showing some patience at the plate. I'm surprised. Pleasant surprise.
Ground ball past the mound behind the bag. Lopez on the backhand loads it up and just got him at first base. Took him an extra beat to get that ball out of his glove, but he got it there on target to Mervis for the 2nd out.
Nice play by Lopez, and that's the defense. We see the second baseman almost up the middle. That's normally a base hit in my day. And that would make me very angry. That's just, he knew he had to hustle. And gave his first baseman a short hop. Well done.
So Siri takes a changeup low and in. Siri grounded out to advance a runner his first time up. Chases a curveball out of the strike zone. It's 1-1. Well, Alcantara now given the lead for a 2nd time. He's retired 7 in a row since Lindor's base hit that tied the game in the 3rd. And Siri flies one out to center field, and Dane Myers is right there waiting for it. And so Alcantara, after getting the lead, responds with a shutdown inning. Let's go 1-2-3 halfway through 4-2.
These work well in the sun. Perfect.
Start your spring with early saving at the Home Depot.
Home 5th inning. Nick Fortes leads off against Kodai Senga. Fortes, one of the 7 strikeout victims for Senga tonight. He tomahawks a foul ball backing out of play.
Ball out of the strike zone. Good rising fastball.
Let's start to get their bullpen cranking with Max Kranick.
Max get a start. Gets his first appearance.
No, he got a very memorable appearance in Houston.
Oh, I missed that.
He came in with the bases loaded and 1 out in the 8th inning in a 1-run game.
And he got out of it.
And he got Alvarez to pop up and Christian Walker to ground out.
See.
Grounded on the right side. And Acuna is there to throw out Fortes one away. Now Senga's got 7 strikeouts, 6 of them via the forkball.
And we mentioned not in the strike zone. Of the 7 strikeouts, there's number 1. It's in the dirt. Don't fish. You're fishing. More fishing. More fishing. I told you once, I told you twice. That was the only strike. And that one is the last strikeout up and in was the fastball.
Xavier Edwards takes a curveball at 69 miles an hour up and away for ball 1. Third time around the batting order, so Senga unveiled in a little different wrinkle. Sounds like the carp are running from all your fishing references.
It's very repetitive, wasn't it?
Ball and a strike to Edwards, who doubled to right center back in the first and scored a run. Then he struck out in the third. Each team with only 3 hits. Vientos creeping in on the grass at third, and Edwards grounds one down to first, a foul ball.
Oh boy, Pete got turned around there.
Oh, and wow. The Marlins bullpen is cranking as well. Wow. Ronnie Henriquez. And you got both these pitchers coming back from injury, and they're going to go slow with both of them.
Yep, and last night Clayton McCullough basically there with that beautiful plane there taken off. So he stayed with his starter a little bit too long. Today he's Captain Hook.
Check swing grounder, and Acuna's right there to grab it. So 2 quick outs on ground balls. Well, to their credit, the Marlins beat writers asked McCullough about it after the game, because remember he had the lefty Veneziano up in the bullpen, but opted not to bring him in to face Soto. And he said, well, I wanted the option there, but I really liked the way McCullough was throwing the ball, so I decided to stay with him. And by having him face Soto, it meant he also had to face Alonso, since he didn't have a right-hander up. There's Kyle Stowers with 2 out, and Alonso at the grand slam, and that basically was the ball game. But you know, it's a young Marlins team, and it's a manager who's managing in the big leagues for the first time with a really short-handed roster. So sometimes you're between a rock and a hard place, and you don't have a whole lot of options. 2-0 to Stowers, who homered back in the first inning, his first of the year. That's drilled down the right field line with foul.
Boy, that was one of the few mistakes that Senga made right there. And Stowers out in front. That was a hanging slider.
Stowers swings over the fork ball, and it's 2-2.
That was a good one. It's right down the middle, and it looks so juicy, and then it just adios.
All the juice is gone. And Senga has bled you dry with his ghost fork.
I would love to just go back in time and be able to see it, get in that box and get after it.
And he blew him away with a fastball at 97 miles an hour. As hard a pitch as Senga's thrown all night. Probably his last salvo of the evening for his 8th.
There it is. See? Told you it was going to all work out. Thanks, future me.
Well, over the last dozen seasons, the team that has the best record against their own division in the National League East generally wins the title. 10 of the last 12 years that's been the case. Last year, the Mets had the best record, didn't win the division, but still made it to the postseason. Sandy Alcantara is out of the game after just 70 pitches in 5 innings, and Ronnie Enriquez comes on to replace him.
Another big arm, throws hard, slider. Well, he's coming in top of the order here.
Francisco Lindor had an RBI single his last time up, and he takes first pitch fastball for a strike. Enriquez was with the Twins for a handful of games at 22 and 24, and Marlins got him on waivers this spring from Minnesota. I'm sure the Mets are feeling quite thrilled with the fact that Alcantara is out of the game, but they are trying to be careful with Alcantara, who retired his last 8 hitters and threw only 70 pitches after 91 opening day. Lindor socks one foul into the empty seats down the right field line. The Marlins basically have only 4 starters right now because they've got so many pitchers hurt. And normally they would want to give Alcantara an extra day. As called strike 3, and Lindor knew it. Change up on the inside corner got him looking for the first out. But they don't want to pitch Alcantara twice in a row against the Mets, and because the Marlins are coming to Citi Field next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they want to go with Alcantara on Sunday so he misses the Mets, so he'll be pitching on regular rest, which is probably why they pulled him after 70 pitches.
I don't understand that. It's divisional competition, and you don't want your ace pitching back to back. I mean, that's overprotective. I'm sorry. You want your ace to be up against the big boys in your division.
Well, let me put it this way. I don't think the Marlins have any any notions about competing for the postseason this year. Their biggest notion as far as Alcantara is concerned is to get his numbers and his health as well as they can be so they can trade him.
It's, reminds me of the old Montreal Expos, all the years that they had the great farm systems. Gary, you recall they traded Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez. They had the wonderful players that came up and they couldn't hold them. And they wound up going and having great careers somewhere else.
Soto's 0 for 2 tonight. He's grounded out and lined to center. And Juan pops one up a mile high into shallow center field. Center fielder Myers calls off the shortstop, and there are 2 out. 10 straight Mets now have been retired. Now, the last 10 years have not been stellar for the Marlins. Got the worst record in baseball over that span.
But they got 2 world championships over their franchise history, Gare.
Well, the last one was 22 years ago.
Yep.
So it's been a while.
Yep. Beat the Yankees at Yankee Stadium.
But that's 2 more than the Mets have in that span. So all power to them. But, it's a tough market. They have not drawn well since they built this ballpark in 2012. They spent a lot of money that year to try and bring in some free agents. That's when they signed Jose Reyes. And it just didn't work out for them. And every year they seem to be stripping down and looking toward the future, and this year is no exception. Alonso has been up twice, grounded out to third base both times. And Enrique spins one in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
He's got a deceptive slider. He kind of drops down. It's kind of like a whirly bird. If that makes sense to you, I don't know.
Ground ball past the mound, and right there is Lopez, positioned perfectly. So Enriquez comes in and gets the Mets 1-2-3 in the 6th. Just a crescent moon. Say it's only a paper moon.
Always looking for the cat.
I thought it was the cow who jumped over the moon. The dish ran away with the spoon. Max Kranick is in for his second appearance of the year, facing Otto Lopez leading off in the bottom of the 6th. And Kranick's first slider in for a strike, 0-1. We were joking with Carlos Mendoza before the game today. He said during that first series in Houston, he kept looking for a soft spot to get Kranick in for his first appearance in the big leagues in 3 years. Fly ball out to center field, and Siri eases back and puts it away, 1 out. He said, well, I got to the point where it was bases loaded and 1 out, and I had nobody else to go to, and here you go, big boy. And Kranick proved equal to the task.
Throw him in the water and see if he can swim.
27-year-old from Scranton who grew up a big Mets fan. I said, did you ever get to go to opening day at Citi Field? He said, no, but my dad went every year. And now finally he's going to have an opening day at Citi Field. Now Mervis grounds one on the right side, and Acuna's there to grab it. And so Kranick gets 2 quick outs in the bottom of the 6th. Fanatics Sportsbook presents streaming of SNY now on its new home, the MLB app. Don't miss a single Mets moment. Scan the code to download the MLB app today. Kodai Senga went 5 innings, allowed just 3 hits, but 4 runs, 2 of them earned, walked 1, struck out 8, a home run, 77 pitches. He had a devastating forkball, but he gave up a 2-run homer to Kyle Stowers in the first, a 2-run double to Graham Pauley in the 4th, and that has the Mets behind in this game 4-2. Griffin Conine has flied out and hit into a fielder's choice. He scored a run, 0 for 2. Could not look more different than his dad at the plate. His dad was a right-hand batter and a very compact stance at the plate. As Griffin is wide open with that bat held high.
He's a big, strong kid like his father.
And a foul tip. Strike 3. Side retired. 1-2-3 inning from Max Kranick.
Why it's never ordinary at Bet365.
I can't speak English right now because I'm so excited. They have added to Marlins Park this year Comunidad 305, where fans are encouraged to bring musical instruments to play during the game. So I did what any good reporter would do. I went a half an hour outside of the hotel. I rented myself a trumpet, and I am a part of this experience right now. Comunidad 305. Luis, help me out. There's a pachanga band here. Luis, help me out here. How do I do this?
So that was 6 years ago, and I'm wondering, Steve, have you taken any lessons since?
Did you just see that? You think I needed any improvement? That was perfect. My favorite part of that, as you saw at the end, the guys in the truck said, hey, just pretend you're playing, and we're going to play some actual music over it, so it'll look really good. And like a moron, I winked at the camera and stopped playing, so you could tell that it wasn't me.
I have another question for you, Steve, being the reporter that you are. Is Comunidad 305 still a thing?
I think I killed it.
Oh, look at that.
So alluring, Steve.
Oh.
Brandon Nimmo homered back in the second inning and takes a slider at his feet from Ronnie Enriquez. Well, if the band is broken up, Steve, maybe you can be the diplomat necessary to get the boys back together.
I'm really surprised that after that promo for it, it didn't catch on.
Well, if they had run it in the Miami area, then maybe it would have, but I don't think anybody was commuting from New York to check out, you know, the band in the stands.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. What time's the game tomorrow? Should I try
4:40.
4:40. Do I have time to go rent another trumpet? Give it another shot?
No, I'd rather that you find the guys who can actually play.
All right.
Who goes down looking for the first out of the 7. So Ronnie Enriquez has come on and retired the first 4 to face him. 12 straight Mets have now been retired since Lindor's RBI single in the 3rd.
He's got kind of an unusual breaking ball. Like I said, it kind of comes in like a whirlybird, and he's backdoored Nimmo right there.
I think
beautifully.
That sweeper he's throwing is a new pitch for him. He was throwing a harder slider last year with Minnesota. Viento's been up twice, grounded out both times. And takes that sinker that caught the catcher Fortes.
He tried to backhand it, and it got through him and bounced up and got him underneath.
Underneath is not a good place to get struck. You see Soto's gaze there, staring at the pitcher, trying to pick up anything he possibly can.
You've got to be observant. That's when I see guys in the dugout. I mean, one of my pet peeves is the iPad in the dugout. And guys are looking at their past at bat while the game's going on. I can't stand it.
Vientos gets under one to center field. And Myers drifts over. 2 out. So the Mets, who broke out big time with the bats yesterday, en route to 10 runs and 11 hits, have been stymied again tonight, much as they were for their first series in Houston. 13 straight Mets have now been retired. The first 8 by Alcantara, the last 5 by Enriquez. Alcantara went 5, allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, no walks, 4 strikeouts. It's Jesse Winker, who struck out twice against Alcantara. And takes a changeup down for ball 1.
Jesse's got his locks a little bit longer this year.
We call that early DeGrom. 2 balls and no strikes to Winker. That's flow right there. And Jesse goes after another changeup.
Wow.
It's 2-1.
Has not thrown Jesse a fastball.
Well, Jesse Winker last year put together a tremendous postseason for the Mets. He struggled when he first came over, but that home run he hit against the Orioles, a walk-off home run, that turned his season around. Off the body of Mervis and rolling away, and Winker is safe at first base. Mervis did a nice job getting in front of that ball, but couldn't field it cleanly, and it caromed away from him. And the Mets have a 2-out base runner.
Oh, the ball came up a little bit as well there.
It'll be an infield hit for Winker, and so the Mets got the tying run to bat with Luis Torrens, who homered last night with a little assist from Derek Hill, the center fielder, who deflected it over the fence.
Torrens just hit a line drive bomb to dead central last night. Shocking.
Flies this one out to center. That's well hit. Back goes Myers to the track. He'll have room, and he makes the catch. Torrens making a bid for a tying home run, but Myers runs it down on the warning track to keep the Marlins. Blue October. Mets have themselves quite a run in the postseason. Smile on Pete Alonso's face says it all. Mets overcoming a deficit in the 9th inning of the deciding game on Alonso's home run, and David Peterson locking it down and beating the Brewers, and then keeping it going against the Phillies and knocking out their division rival in the division series. Vientos had a big postseason. Alonso wound up with 4 home runs in the postseason. Winker was terrific. Peterson was great in that bullpen role. Mets pitching just kind of ran out of steam. They had been so good all year long, but once they got to the Dodgers and that stacked lineup just didn't quite have enough.
Well, it was very gratifying to beat the Phillies and beat them and thrash them. And what was it, in 5 games?
4 games.
4, that's right.
Lindor hit the grand slam in game 4 to put them over the top. Max Kranick will work a 2nd inning through just 6 pitches in a 1-2-3-6. We were talking about it last night, the composition of the Mets bullpen and the number of guys they have down there who can give you multiple innings out of the pen, which these days is a huge luxury. because it means that every day you've got a guy who can give you 2 or even 3 innings out of the pen with Brazoban and Kranick and Buto.
Well, it started with Bobby Cox with the Braves and Tony La Russa when he was with the Oakland A's that would go to relievers 1 inning at a time, just pop through the bullpen. And I think we're kind of getting back. It's good to have long men, guys that can give you 2, maybe 3.
Well, you have to have that because now you've got starters going 5 innings on most occasions.
Exactly.
If you get 6, that's a luxury, and then you can go to your single inning guys to get you to the finish line. But if your starter's going 5 or less, as Bride takes a big hack and misses 2-2, then every day you really have a need for that multiple inning reliever. And the Mets have got that. And it seems as though more and more teams are structuring their bullpen that way, whether it's with guys who used to be starting pitchers or have just been able to stretch themselves out to be able to go 2 or 3 innings. Full count to Bride leading off in the home 7th. Blake Bacher is up in the bullpen for the Marlins.
Well, they didn't pitch yesterday. Bacher and Fauché.
Line the other way, and Acuna with a neat pickup on a wicked hop, and he throws out Bride. Boy, that ball really came up on Acuna, and he stayed right with it.
He's made all the plays tonight.
Well, Carlos Mendoza said he put him in there for his defense, and he is contributing. So Kranick's retired all 4 to face him. Now Graham Pauley, who gave the Marlins the lead with a 2-run double to left center in the 4th, and he takes a strike. Yeah, the Marlins are much more fortified in their bullpen tonight because it's flied out to left center. Another long one for Nimmo back in the gap. This time he'll get there and make the catch on the warning track. Pretty similar spot to where Paulie hit it the last time, but didn't hit it quite as hard. And a little more hang time for Nimmo to get there.
Yeah, the Marlins had 3 all their wins were walk-offs, so they had to go into their bullpen and their back end of their bullpen, so they weren't available. Those 2 guys.
Well, Anthony Bender and Calvin Fauché, those are their top 2 relievers. So they were not available last night, but both should be available today. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Dane Myers has reached on there and struck out. And bluffing a bunt with Vientos playing back. Connor and Joe take an early look at Mets top prospect Blade Tidwell and Brandon Sprode in AAA on the latest episode of the Mets Pod, presented by Tri-State Cadillac. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Tidwell was great his first time out. Sprode not so much. Popped up on the right side. Alonso sprinting into foul ground. He should have room. And he's got it. 2 perfect innings for Max Kranick out of the bullpen. That gets us to the 8th with the Mets down.
Hey, it's Gary and Todd. Infinity postgame live on the way. What did you make of Kodai Senga's first start?
Some growing pains, but I thought he settled in well. The ghost fork was effective, but not his best outing. It'll be all right going forward.
All right, well, much more on that coming on the postgame show, Gary.
All right, gentlemen, here we go to the 8th inning with the Marlins up 4-2. Luke Bacher will come on to pitch for the Marlins. I called him Luke. His name is Lake. It's Lake Bacher, which is not a body of water. It's a right-handed pitcher. Brett Beatty bats for Luis Angel Acuna, leading off in the 8th inning.
His third appearance for Lake. 3 walks and 3 1/3. This is the opportunity for the Mets right here.
Beatty started last night, went 1 for 4, had an opposite field double. Acuna had a double his first time up tonight against Alcantara, but now Beatty batting for Acuna here in the 8th. The Mets down by 2. We'll say Siri on deck, and then Francisco Lindor. A ball and 2 strikes to Beatty. Bacher, 27 years old. He was in 10 games with the Marlins last year. He's still a rookie. At the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. See, now if his parents had a sense of humor, they would have named him Knicker. And he'd be just like Clyde Frazier. Knickerbocker. Swinging a foul at the plate on a slider. Spectrum high-speed hitting tonight. Brandon Nimmo's home run was the hardest, well, not quite the hardest hit ball of the game. We have them out of order. According to that, it says Acuna's ground out was the hardest hit ball of the night. Never know what to believe. And that sweeper misses outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Beatty with Siri to follow. And Beatty hits a ground ball right at the second baseman Lopez. 1 out. The Mets offense has been bereft over the last few innings. They've had just 1 base runner since the 3rd. That was an infield single by Jesse Winker. Now Jose Siri, who's grounded out and flied out.
I thought Alcantara threw real well.
Siri takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. Oh, so we had an inversion on Acuna's ball. It was not 109.4. Right. It was 104.9, which is much more of an FM kind of signal. Up and into Siri, and it's 2-0. Siri ahead in the count. And Bacher throws him a wrinkle in for a strike, and it's 2-1. Reed Garrett is up now in the Mets bullpen after Max Kranick threw 2 scoreless, hitless, walkless innings. That's to say perfect. Siri chasing on a slider in the dirt, and it's 2-2. Get a lot of chase with Jose Siri. He can just stay in the strike zone. He's got so much power, and he's got speed. Get on base with any kind of regularity, he can be a real threat. And now the Mets are not asking much of him, batting 9th in the order, hoping that he'll play good defense and provide that occasional pop. 2-2 from Bacher. Outside ball 3. It should not escape anybody's attention that the Mets are going to be giving Jet Williams a lot of time in center field down in the minors this year, starting out in Double-A. 3-2 coming. Slider hits softly to short. Tough play for Edwards coming in, and he throws out Siri by a stride. Nicely done by Edwards. 2 out.
Oh, they know Siri can fly, and Edwards just pounced on this ball. Well done.
Siri is really fast, but he takes such a big swing as a right-hand batter. It takes a little while for him to get started.
He got jammed there too. Yeah. When you get jammed, you really kind of get you get knocked on your haunches.
So 2 out. Here's Lindor, who had an RBI single in the 3rd, but has committed 2 errors in the field tonight for just the 4th time in his career, and he hits a weak ground ball to second, and Lopez throws him out, and the Mets are cast aside again in the Home eighth inning. Nick Fortes chops one. Vientos goes back, reaches high, throws on a bounce, and Alonso's got it for a very interesting first out. Vientos had to use all of his 6'4" to reach up for that ball as he retreated, and Alonso with a good footwork to reel in the one-hop throw.
And I normally do not like to ever catch the ball in foul territory, but this was the right move by Pete. It was an in-between hop, and you play it in foul territory and get the long hop. Fortes doesn't run well. Good move.
Now Xavier Edwards fouls one away. Meanwhile, Max Kranick is still out there in the eighth inning. Brett Beatty now playing second base after pinch hitting. Kranick's now retired 7 batters, and he's only thrown 18 pitches. So with the low pitch count, being asked to soak up another inning of work. Line right to Lindor, and Edwards is retired, 2 out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by PNC Bank. Opening week is presented by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. By your local Ford stores. Ford is proud to be the official truck of the Mets. And by Catholic Health. Long live Long Island. Cal Stowers delivered the keynote in this game, a 2-run homer in the first inning. And Kranick's slider just misses for ball 1. Stowers has struck out in his 2 at-bats since. 2 big hits in this game. Stowers' 2-run homer in the first, Paulie's 2-run double in the fourth, and the Mets have been stymied. 17 of the last 18 Mets have been retired, and now they have just 3 outs to play with. And that curveball foul back, and it's 1-1. Mets will have Soto, Alonso, and Nimmo due up in the ninth. I wonder if they'll go to the left-hander with 2 lefties due up. Looks like Veneziano is up in the bullpen.
Yep, he's still chunking down there.
Line over the mound and grabbed by Lindor, who was positioned perfectly to throw out Stowers. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Kranick, who's turned in 3 perfect innings. We go to the ninth with the Mets down. Road Ahead presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. 1 game to play here tomorrow. Then the Mets are home for the home opener on Friday against the Jays. 3 with Toronto, 3 with Miami, and then it's off to Sacramento. Ninth inning, Anthony Veneziano, the pride of Hackettstown, New Jersey, in to face Juan Soto, and he misses with his first slider away for ball 1. Veneziano looking for his first major league save. He's pitched in 16 games over the last 3 years for Kansas City and Miami. And Soto takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-1. Soto's gone 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded out, lined out to center, flied out to center. Mets have had just 4 hits all night. Marlins have had only 3, but they lead 4-2. And Veneziano misses upstairs with a fastball, 2-1. 2 innings from Ronnie Henriquez and 1 for Luke Bacher to set the table. And now Veneziano trying to make it stand up. And Soto takes a fastball inside. Now it's 3-1. You can understand the reasoning of Clayton McCullough. You got the 2 left-hand hitters, Soto and Nimmo, due up in this inning. But Veneziano obviously not nearly as experienced as Anthony Bender or Calvin Fauché, his best right-handers in the pen. We'll see how it works out for him. Soto needs to get on any way he can with the Mets down 2. And he gets on with a walk. So Soto does what he does and sets the stage for Alonso to be the tying run at the plate.
Big mistake. Leadoff walks.
So now Alonso had the big hit last night with his 4th career grand slam. Bats against Veneziano. Tonight, Pete has hit 3 ground balls and been retired all 3 times. Tying run at bat in a 4-2 game in the 9th. And he takes a fastball on the outside corner for a strike, 0-1.
Playing deeper this time, Garrett. You notice no doubles, no doubles.
They had Stowers so shallow the last time Pete was up in left field. And Pete takes the slider low and in. Ball and a strike. Mets have not bitten yet on that Veneziano slider. That's his best pitch. He's thrown it 61% of the time. They're holding Soto on at first base, even though that run means nothing. It leaves that right side hole open, and Veneziano catches the inside corner with a fastball. It's 1-2.
Good pitch.
There's Anthony Bender up in the bullpen. But remember, Veneziano has to face at least 3 batters, so Bender's getting ready for Vientos, who is still 2 batters away. Met fans chanting Alonso's name here in Miami. And Pete swings and pulls one foul. Fastball running in. Soto with that walk has now reached base safely in every game this year. He knew his task. His task was to get on and give the Mets a chance. And now Alonso trying to cash it in. Nimmo to follow. 1-2. Ground ball down to third. Not hard hit. Paulie to second one. Lopez to first. He throws it away. It did not go into the dugout. So Alonso will stay at first base.
Boy, that's a double play with the proper throw. I want to see what the first baseman did here.
They had to rush because it wasn't hit hard.
That ball took a funky hop. No, that's just over his head.
So that keeps the tying run at bat. Soto retired on the 5-4 fielder's choice. Alonso at first with 1 out.
Boy, you got to turn that too.
So here's Nimmo, who accounted for the first Met run with his 2nd home run in 2 nights. That came in the 2nd inning. He's been caught looking twice since then. Now facing the left-hander Anthony Veneziano. Swing and a miss at a fastball, 0-1.
Kind of reared back and threw that one 96 miles an hour right down the pipe upstairs.
And Nimmo hits one up the middle for a base hit. Alonso to second. He'll pull in there. And the Mets on the tying runs on base with Mark Vientos coming up. And we'll see if Clayton McCullough goes to Anthony Bender.
Slider. Just not a great slider. Flat. Nimmo stays in.
So here comes Clayton McCullough, and he'll bring in his veteran Anthony Bender to try and close this game out. Mets have the tying runs on in the 9th. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Nissan. Shop NissanUSA.com.
Crowder.
After the postgame show, it's on to Sports Night. Latest news on Sean Manaea, who looks like he's going to be out at least till late May. Lots more tonight. Honda Sports Night every night on SNY. Mets trying to rally in the ninth, and the veteran right-hander Anthony Bender is in to try and close it out.
Marlins have not had a save. All their wins so far this year have been walk-offs.
Bender has 10 saves in his major league career. One last year in 59 appearances. Mark Vientos will be coming up against him with Alonso at second and Nimmo the tying run at first. One out, top of the ninth, 4-2 Miami. Vientos 0 for 3 tonight, 2 for 18 to start the year. And Bender's first slider bends in for a strike, 0-1.
Bender's got that sweeper. He kind of comes funky on the little bit, almost sidearm, short arms it.
Vientos 0 for 2 in his career against Bender. And Mark fouls it back this way.
Oh, right below us, Gare. Almost got us.
0-2. Mets get Edwin Diaz up in the bullpen, hoping to hand him a save chance. A.J. Minter will get up as well. Probably Minter if the game is tied. Vientos down on the count 0-2 and chooses to use his timeout. Jesse Winker is the on-deck batter. Veneziano faced 3 batters, gave up a walk and a single, and now Bender trying to pick him up. He's ahead on Vientos 0-2. And Mark swings and flies one out to right field. Should be easy for Conine, and that's the second out. So Vientos reaching for a slider, flies to right, and the Mets are down to their final out of the night with Jesse Winker coming up.
He had the right idea with 2 strikes going to opposite field, and he got just a guy. Bender threw a slider on a good spot on the outside corner. He got it away off the end of the bat. A little bit of frustration.
So now 2 out and 2 on for Jesse Winker, who had an infield single in the 7th. 1 for 3 on the night. And Winker hits the first pitch slider down to first, handled there by Mervis, and the Marlins have evened up the series. Mets offense managed just 5 hits all night. Kodai Senga pitched okay, but not well enough to win. 2 errors by Francisco Lindor. One of them led to the go-ahead runs, and the Mets had no response. And the Marlins win this one 4-2.
Well, the ray of sunshine is that Kodai Senga looked really good. And it's 5 innings and 4 runs. But like Gary said, 2 of the runs that were the decider of the game, were unearned. He struck out 8 and really pitched a good ball game.
So Bender picks up the save for Miami, and the Marlins have now won 4 of their first 6 to start the season, while the Mets fall to 2 and 3. Senga allowed just 3 hits, but the 2 unearned runs cost him. Lindor with just the 4th 2-error game of his major league career, and the Marlins win this one 4-2, setting up a rubber game tomorrow afternoon. 4-2 the final. Miami wins it with the roof wide open.
Perfect.
Start your spring with early saving at the Home Depot.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Audi. Visit your tri-state Audi dealer today. By Tunnel to Towers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. By Spectrum, a connection built for everywhere. That's life unlimited. That's Spectrum. And by Toyota. Deer Spring, Toyota's adrenaline-pumping lineup is ready for you. Toyota, let's go places. Final score tonight, the Marlins 4, the Mets 2. Rubber game of this series tomorrow. A late afternoon start, 4:40 first pitch. Coverage begins at 4 o'clock. Clay Holmes makes his second start for the Mets against Connor Gillespie. Now for Keith Hernandez, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen in Miami. After this break, it's Infinity Post Game Live with Gary Apple and Todd.
Free. Yeah, we did do that.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
There we go. It is Infinity Postgame Live. Gary Apple, Todd Zeal back inside our New York City studios. Mets fall to the Marlins tonight by a final of 4-2. Sandy Alcantara gets the win from Miami. And Kodai Senga's first start of the year. Got in trouble early. It cost him. A couple of errors hurt him as well as the Mets are losers tonight. This series even now at a game piece. Rubber game coming down in Miami late tomorrow afternoon. Let's go back to Lone Depot Park right now. Get a look at our notes from this game, how it unfolded tonight. The Marlins wasted no time getting to the aforementioned Kodai Senga. That's a first-inning home run by Kyle Stowers. Unloads to center, a two-run bomb. And Miami had a very quick 2-0 lead. The Mets got a run back in the second, courtesy of Brandon Nimmo. He delivers for a second consecutive game. A solo shot, and the lead was cut to 2-1. Then in the third inning, Francisco Lindor, his first hit. his first RBI of the season. He singles up the middle and scores Luis Angel Acuna, and the game was tied at 2. But Miami retook the lead in the 4th inning. Lindor committed his second error of the game, a 2-out walk by Senga, and then Graham Pauley delivers the opposite way, knocks in a couple of runs, and both of those runs were unearned. It was a 4-2 game. Mets brought the go-ahead run to the plate in the 9th inning. Jesse Winker grounds out with first and second and 2 outs, and that's it. Marlins get the win by a final of 4-2. Let's begin here with Kodai Senga. 5 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs. Todd, 2 of those runs were earned. A couple of errors by Lindor cost a couple of runs there for the Mets. But what was your overall impression of Kodai in his first start?
I was actually pretty impressed because he was greeted pretty rudely when he walked out of that mound. A couple batters into the game, he'd given up a base hit and a home run. And we'll take a look at his 2 struggled innings. And we started out the first, like I said, the fastball. He was trying to go at guys, but that fastball only 93, 94 miles an hour early on. Soto does a good job of cutting it off, but still can't avoid the double. And then Graham Pauley unloads on a fastball down the middle, and 93 miles an hour. So as the game settled in, and as he settled in, he started using the fastball, but in that 4th inning, he gets the error by Lindor right there. And then the 2-out walk is a tough walk to take, and then the cutter that doesn't quite get in, and you see the ball get to the gap right there and score a couple of more. This could have been avoided. That 2-out walk was a big deal. Obviously, unearned runs because of the Lindor error, and very unusual to see Francisco Lindor struggle at any time defensively, but more than once in a game. And the ball was taking some funky hops down in Florida for both sides, and a couple of them caught him on the heel of the glove, and you could tell his frustration. But overall, Kodai Senga battled through what was a tough first and a difficult 4th, where the walk ended up biting him and settled down in between to have what I would consider a solid outing.
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially as you said, he was greeted rather rudely right out of the gate, right? He gave up the double and then the home run. Edwards the double and then Stowers the home run. Did we see some flashes along the way here of a little bit of 2023 Kodai Senga?
Well, we did. We didn't see the high velo that he showed until his last pitch of his outing today was one of his 8 strike. I mean, guy strikes out 8 over that 5 innings, and so you could say that he had his effective stuff, but you could see that he was trying to establish the other pitches early on and not necessarily rely on the ghost fork. And that also, I think, comes out of spring training, where he said he never really had a great feel for the ghost fork. So he got the feel there. He's pitched well in Miami before in that dome, even though with the roof open might have been a little bit of a different dynamic. But once he got that forkball going, he got the chase. He was able to then utilize the other secondary pitches, and they're not secondary, but the fastball started to play a little bit better. He used the cutter a little bit, an occasional sweeper, but the ghost fork was really the story for him. When he got ahead, he was able to put guys away.
I think there was a great unknown when it comes to Kodai Senga tonight, right? They held him back, 5th game of the season, didn't start him in the opening series against the Astros down in Houston, gave him a little bit of extra time, and he did 77 pitches over 5 innings. I think you're happy with that when it comes to Kodai Senga, but I think there is some question about the way they're going to use him moving forward. What do you think the best way is?
Look, we're analyzing it. We're there in spring training. We watch the guy. We're preparing for it. And I can tell you that it's always a bit confusing with me with Kodai Senga. I wasn't sure if he was going to go 55 pitches or 80 pitches. I wasn't sure if he was going to come back out for the 5th, having had the tough 4th inning. Well, he did. He went back out there in the 5th, ended with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball for a strikeout up in the strike zone that looked like vintage Kodai Senga, and got to 77 pitches, which I think is a bonus right now. And look, the game didn't go the Mets' way. Sandy Alcantara was very good. The offense was pretty weak tonight. And, in a 2-hour and 5-minute game, you don't see those very often. But if you're going to take something away from this good, it's that he pushed through 5, that he got to 77 pitches. I think it sets up for him being on his regular rested self next time he goes to the mound, and being able to push that a little bit further, which, like I said, I didn't know what to expect out of him coming into today.
As I I say, it's a great unknown when it comes to Kodai Senga. And you mentioned 2 hours and 5 minutes, and the game slowed down a little bit there in the top of the ninth inning. Let's go to the flip side here. You mentioned Sandy Alcantara. He was good tonight. He was the winning pitcher, 5 innings, 2 runs for Alcantara. He didn't walk anybody, and that was an issue for him in his first start. But his second start back tonight after Tommy John surgery, and boy, he looked pretty impressive.
Yeah, he does. He looks smooth. We talked about it in pregame. The ball explodes out of his hand, whether he's getting movement on the 95 to 98 mile an hour sinker or gets that four-seamer at the top of the zone. He had the changeup, I thought was really working effectively early on. He got some swings and misses on it. He got soft contact on it. And he was just a guy that was in command for the time that he was in there. The one guy that did get to him, Brandon Nimmo, obviously on the home run, I thought did a great job of recognizing how he was getting guys out. And it was the left-handers he was going, getting ahead hard and then going to that changeup, which is a really good pitch. It's still near 90 miles an hour with good late movement, but Brandon sat back on that changeup, was able to drive it out of the ballpark. And the one real flaw that Sandy had was that one mistake pitch to Brandon.
Just like the Mets are not going to push Kodai Senga, I would imagine they're going to tread very lightly here, at least early in the season when it comes to Sandy Alcantara. Again, just his second start since coming back from the Tommy John surgery. But we spoke about this on the pregame show, the fact that his name is very much out there. Trade discussions, the prevailing feeling is at some point this season the Marlins are going to move him. Does that motivate him? How do you think he's going to react to that?
I think he's got to worry about making sure he's healthy, not thinking about anything too far down the line. Every time he takes the mound, he's got to continue to prove his value, because at the end of the day, if he's recognizing that this is a likelihood that he'll end up somewhere else in a different uniform, which is just the way of this Marlins organization right now. It has certainly nothing to do with him, although they're going to want to get the most out of that trade chip that they possibly can. Sandy Alcantara, when healthy, is one of the best pitchers, not only in the National League, but in all of baseball, and he's going to bring a lot on the market. But the later they get into the season, the more likely that people will back off because, there's not a ton of control for Sandy. So, look, he's got to make sure he's healthy and pitching solidly, and then the rest will take care of itself.
All right, more to get to as we just get going on Infinity Postgame Live. When we come back and get thoughts of the manager, we'll hear from Carlos Mendoza, get his take on what he saw from Kodai Senga today and tonight, and what he thought about the Mets' quiet bats after a breakout offensive night last night. We're coming right back.
Infinity Postgame Live is presented by Infinity. Experience the Infinity lineup at your local retailer today. Toyota. Let's go places.
1-0 to Kodai Senga. 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 Well, despite just 3 hits on the night, the Marlins get the win over the Mets tonight by a final of 4-2. Kodai Senga is the losing pitcher, his first start of the year. So let's get the thoughts of the Mets manager right now as we head back down to Miami to hear from Carlos Mendoza.
Carlos, when Alcantara really got into a rhythm there, what was he doing so well against you guys?
Who's this?
Alcantara.
Yeah, the way he mixes pitches, not only the sinker against righties, but the changeup and the slider against lefties. He used all of his pitches, kept the ball down, got ground balls, and, we didn't do much of them.
What'd you think of Senga today?
Yeah, other than the first 2 batters of the game, Edwards got him there, and then the homer on the fastball right down the middle. I thought, he kind of like a wake-up call there for him, after that, and he was really good. The slider, sweeper, the split was really good, and then the way he was using the fastball, he was really good after the first 2 hitters.
In the fourth there, just how much did that sting, the way that unfolded, especially that rally?
When we didn't make a play?
It starts with an error, a 2-out walk.
Yeah. I mean, we gave them some extra outs, extra bases, and they made them pay, Like I said, the 2-out walk there, and then left a pitch up. But, yeah, we just didn't make a play there.
Lindor is so sure-handed defensively. Just what's the amount of surprise when 2 of those?
It's very rare to see him, with 2 errors on a game. It happens. He's human, Yeah.
Is Hayden Singer starting tomorrow? Or?
We'll see.
Okay.
Anything else?
What did you think of the at-bat, aside from Sandy, but just the at-bats generally tonight, especially against the bullpen, seemed to go?
Yeah, we didn't have many good at-bats there. We couldn't create opportunities until the last inning. Didn't get much going. And didn't hit many balls hard against their bullpen.
I know it's early, but given what you saw out of him in spring training and now the way he started the season, what type of a weapon could Kranick be for you back there?
Really good. For him to come in like that and basically save the bullpen and kept the game, and gave us a chance. That was pretty impressive. Attacked through strikes, used all of his pitches, was pitch efficient, and that's going to be huge for us moving forward. Having a guy like that you could trust and helping you keeping games close or keeping a lead and giving you distance out of the bullpen. That's a pretty valuable piece out of the bullpen there.
Thank you, Carlos.
All right, so that is the manager of the Mets, Carlos Mendoza. Let's react to a couple of things he hit on, beginning with the fact that the bats were quiet, right? How do you figure this in baseball? They scored 10 runs last night. They hit 4 home runs. Tonight, just 2 runs. And the bats, as he said, really didn't get any good at-bats against the Marlins bullpen.
That's how they play the game. That's why they play the game.
Of course,
yes. Right? I mean, there is so many ups and downs in baseball. That's why a guy like Carlos is so good to listen to, because he doesn't get too caught up in the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of a season. And today was a day that started off with Sandy Alcantara kind of keeping these guys down. I'm sure they had a game plan against Sandy. He utilized his sinker and his changeup effectively, used the slider against lefties, and that he did for 5 innings. And he's a tough at-bat no matter what. So early on, quick innings, not really getting into a rhythm, never really getting the offense clicking, where, as we saw last night, it was one good at-bat after another good at-bat, and something finds a hole, something finds a gap, and then it becomes contagious, and then you add on. That momentum never really came tonight for the Mets. And you got to give some credit to the bullpen. Came in with some different looks, some different arms, different arm angles, and were able to continue executing and getting soft contact outs and get deeper into this game.
Are the Mets missing late in the lineup with McNeil on the shelf and with Francisco Alvarez on the shelf as well? Because the bats, relatively, 4 of the 5 games, have been quiet. They got the 1 win down in Houston, but they only scored 3 runs in that game. Is this an indication that they are missing that length that they had been set up for?
I mean,
this
it's
year?
an early indication that you'd like to have a little bit more consistency in the lineup. And Jeff McNeil, obviously, and Alvarez have been guys that have a track record, have the back of their card that says that they're going to give you solid at-bats. But you can't take anything away from Luis Torrens. He's been one of the best offensive players on this team so far in that catcher's spot. And Luis Angel Acuna comes in in starting for Brett Beatty tonight against a tough right-handed pitcher, ends up with a good double down the line, gets something going, ends up scoring a run there. So you can't blame it all on the bottom of the lineup. I just think, Francisco always starts off a little bit slow at the top of the lineup, and you're not seeing just everybody gel together right now, but that's going to come. That's early in the season, and there's nothing to worry about.
All right, what are the other things that the manager spoke about? Saying the praises there of Max Kranick, and that's somebody you've been really high on from down in spring training up and through these early games of the season. 22 pitches to get through 3 perfect innings. What's jumping out at you about Kranick?
Well, the thing that I liked about him in spring training, and the same thing we're seeing, is there doesn't seem to be a moment that's big for him. I mean, you saw that in Houston. He comes in and he fires strikes, and he hits strikes on the outer parts of the plate. You see him very, very rarely make mistakes in the middle of the plate. The slider, the cutter, he's using back door and front door. He attacks the strike zone. 22 pitches to get through 3 innings of work, 3 perfect innings of work, and just I think what Carlos said about him is that he goes in and attacks. And sometimes when a guy is feeling for his stuff or is trying to find a place on a team or is one of those guys that may be late on the roster, you come in and you can be tentative. You can pitch with a little bit of fear in your arsenal instead of absolute confidence. And that's the one thing that I've loved about watching him so far is he walks in, takes the ball, and attacks the strike zone.
Yeah, he's a good story early here in the season. He's a lifelong Mets fan, battled injury last couple of years, and now back in the majors with the Mets and making the most of this opportunity here early in the season. More to get to here on Infinity Postgame Live. Good news, bad news night for Francisco Lindor. Had the hit, the RBI, but 2 errors, and he'll discuss his night on the other side of a break.
Only place to stream SNY Mets games.
Well, that's not something you see every day or night. Francisco Lindor committing not 1, but 2 errors in the game tonight down in Miami. Just the 4th time in his career he's had 2 errors in the game. Just the 2nd time as a member of the Mets. The other time back on July the 8th, back in 2023 against the Padres. The 2nd error led to 2 unearned runs. That was the difference in the game. Here's Francisco.
Francisco, obviously a night like this defensively for you is so rare, but I also know how much you really harp on your defense. Are you able to just flush it, or is this one that personally you harp on again for a little bit?
felt we played a clean game. It's like 2 pitches and my 2 ground balls. So I take a lot of pride in it, and it doesn't feel good. I talked to Senga. Senga said that that don't worry about it, that I picked him up many times, but it still kind of hurts, you know. And I wish I would have done better for Senga. And Senga had a great game, you know. It's unfortunate that I didn't finish the play for him. He executed today all night long. Definitely should be better.
What didn't happen on those?
Honestly, usually errors happen when you take your eyes off the baseball, and I saw both of them like hit my glove in the exact same spot. Not exact same spot, but I saw him hit my glove. So my head, everything was on the baseball. Just missed him, you know. You just go out there tomorrow, work at him, and make sure it doesn't happen again.
What did you say to Kodai?
I told him that my bad's on me. That he had a great game, and he said, "Don't worry about it. I could have picked you up." And he's a great professional. He's a great teammate, and he didn't have to say that, but he did. You know, at the end of the day, it's our job to finish the plays, and today was on me.
Was that after the game or when he came out of the game?
After the game.
One of the things we know about Francisco Lindor, he takes such incredible pride when it comes to his defense. He was down right there. You can see that very un-Francisco Lindor. Like it as he said, he looked both of those plays right into his glove, and they both hit off the heel of the glove.
Yeah, I thought that was the interesting part of listening to him talk. He said most errors occur when you take your eyes off the ball. That makes perfect sense, and he didn't. You could see in the slow motion replays especially that he's tracking the ball. He's in good position. Both balls hit him on the heel of the glove, which I think may be an indication of the hard infield and the turf infield. I think there's just something a little bit different about that infield, and we saw this with other plays all night long. There was a tough play that Acuna had to make. The ball jumped up and almost got him in the face. There was a ball to the Marlins first baseman, Mervis, that jumped up and won to Pete. So maybe the ball is jumping a little bit different and not doing exactly what you're used to seeing on regular surface. He would never make an excuse. But it was unusual that both balls took a little bit extra, height and got him on the heel of the glove. It wasn't like, there was some other misplay. He watched them in. They just didn't hit where he was expecting them to.
Well, Steve asked him right there, is this something you flushed real quickly? And he said, this is going to bother him. We know how much pride he takes in his defense. So this is something, he's not going to sleep well over this one tonight. The good news is for Francisco, he came into the game hitless, 0 for 11, and he finally got his first hit of the season, knocked in the Mets' second run of the game, tied the game there in the 3rd inning. That particular at-bat you liked because of what?
Well, it was a timely hit. I mean, he got he had an opportunity with the infield drawn in, which should take a little bit of pressure off when you're feeling for it a little bit and struggling a little bit. He's got the runner on 3rd, less than 2 outs. He knows he's got to make contact. You try to stay to the middle of the field, which is something that I think is also good for Francisco right now this time of the year, because you've seen him rolling over balls, being a little out in front. And I had talked before about timing sometimes when you come out of spring training. In spring training, you tend, and this is me looking back at my own history as a guy in spring training, the bat feels heavy in spring training. You're getting used to it. There's no motivation. There's no real adrenaline. And then as soon as the lights go on, all of a sudden the adrenaline rises. The bat feels light again, and you start getting out in front of things. So you're behind a little bit in spring training, trying to catch up. And then once you start to try to catch up, now you're quick again. Now you're a little out front. So it's a balancing act in the early going of the season. At least it always had been for me. And I'd seen the same sort of results from Lindor, where he's a little bit out in front right now early in the season, especially left-handed. Now maybe working to the middle of the field will keep him back a little bit more and start driving the baseball.
It is amazing, right? The difference between spring training,
minuscule,
and then once you get into the regular season and the bright lights come on, things change quite a bit. As Francisco Lindor said a moment ago, he apologized to Kodai Senga for those couple of errors. Kodai was the losing pitcher tonight, but he was solid, really, in his first outing of the year. 5 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs. Again, just 2 of those runs were earned. He struck out 8, and he walked 1. He gave up the first inning home run, and then he settled down pretty good. So let's hear from Kodai Senga right now.
Kodai, after those first 2 batters, what did you do so well the rest of the way?
最初の2人が終わってから何を変えてよかったんですか？
冷静じゃなく2人に甘いとこ投げてしまったっていうところが大きな反省点かなというふうには、まず思います。
I think I lacked a little bit of calmness, just kind of giving him easy pitches to hit.
What did you do though afterwards that was so effective?
その後何が有効的でしたか？
データなり自分のことなりいろいろ頭が整理ついたかなというところと、久しぶりに、去年この時期に、うまく立ち上げれずにリハビリ組だったっていうところに関しても、怪我ずに立てたっていうところにまずホッとしている自分がいたのがそのままマウンドで出たっていう感覚もあるので、最初の2人は良くなかったかなっていうふうな、感想があります。
I think I was just a little relieved to be back out there in a big league game after the year that I had last year, and that kind of led to bad results. But after that, I was able to sort out through my head what I need to do, all the data to how to approach the hitters, and that turned out to be effective.
What did you think of your fork ball tonight?
フォークいかがでしたか？
めちゃくちゃいいわけでもなく悪くもなく本当ノーパットっていう感じですけど、使い方とりあえずうまく引き出してくれたかなっていう感じのところはあるので、初めてこのメジャーの試合で組んだっていう中では、これから2人で、いろいろ分かってくることも思うので、これからいいものを作り上げていきたいなと思ってます。
It was not bad, not great, but not bad. First time throwing Torrens in a big league game, so I think there were some adjustments that are going to continue to be made, and I think he did a great job using it, and that's why I was able to, perform decently. But yeah, I think it's going to be better throughout the rest of the season.
You got a lot of strikeouts on it early, and then Bride in the 4th inning did not swing at 2 of them. What did you think of that and that at bat?
三振をフォークで多く築き上げて、でブライド選手が2球連続で振らなかった時があったんですけど、そこら辺の感想というか考えたことはありますか？
いや、普通にロケーションミスしたので何も思ってないかっていうところは自分のミスだなっていう感覚なので、振るところに投げたっていうからボールからボール投げただけなので、それは見るようになるっていう感じでした。
I mean, they weren't executed very well. They weren't perfect pitches, so just a mistake on my end. Could have been better.
When you say about that pitch, not bad but not great, what for you is the difference between when you have that great fork ball, because the results were there tonight?
結果としては三振を多く取れたんですけど、グレートと悪くない時、そこの差は千賀さん的には何でしょうか？
結局試合に負けるということに関してはほぼ先発ピッチャーの役割はすごい大きいと思いますし、相手がすごいいいピッチャーなのにかかわらず先制されるだとか、追いついてもらって、すぐ点を吐き出すとか、そういう先発ピッチャーとしてチームが勝てることをしないっていうところが、一番大きな要因だと思うので、とにかく自分のその試合感みたいなのも今日でだいぶ自分の中ではいいものがあったので、これからいいものを築き上げていきたいなと思ってます。
I think it all comes down to not winning. I wasn't able to put my team in the best position to win. Gave up 2 runs quick against their ace. Our team got those 2 runs back, and then I let up lead again. And I was able to get a lot out of the outing. I was able to get my rhythm, and I think it's going to help out moving forward. But I think not being able to put my team in a good position is what it comes down to.
Lindor said he apologized to you for the error in the 4th inning. What did that mean to you?
リンドアが、謝ったというか、エラーに関してそこは辺は千賀さんにとってどういう意味を持つ会話でしたか？
やっぱり彼にいつも助けられ、入団チームに入ってからずっと彼の言葉で救われたこともすごいありますし、やっぱチームの顔でもあるので、彼のミスっていうところでやっぱカバーしてチームを盛り上げていくっていうところがすごいベンチにいてもやっぱ分かるので、彼のミスでっていうところがフォーカスされているような試合を作っちゃいけないなっていうのはやっぱ改めて思いましたし、彼だけじゃなくて他の選手もそうなんですけど、余計にそれはやってやろうっていう気持ちはあったんですけど、打たれて良くなかったなっていう強い反省はあります。
Since the day I signed with this team, Lindor's always been there. He's always supported me, always gave me words of encouragement. He's always been there for not just me, but everybody on the team. So when he makes a mistake, I need to be there to pick him up. And not only him, but everybody else on the team. He's always there for everybody. And it was my fault to make this game, make his errors be highlighted because of my poor performance.
You made your first start with the Mets here 2 years ago, having not pitched much for the last year, not being able to pitch last year. Being back here, did that bring up any emotions or memories or anything like that?
ちょうど2年前ほどここでデビューされたんですけど、そこの、思い出というか、込み上げてくるものはありました。
いや、それはなんかやっぱり去年1年間本当にメジャーの試合で5イニングしか投げてないってところに関して、やっぱり自分のそのメジャーのゲームの中での流れだったり力の配分だったり、どういうふうに試合を作るかってところに関してふわふわしたものがあったのも事実なので、もうこれから思い出してくることもあると思いますし、後半に差し掛かってスピードも後半の方が上がっていたのもあるので、いろいろこれからアジャストできる部分もあるかなと思って、いい試合負けてしまいましたけど収穫のある試合だったなと思います。
That was actually a non-factor. The bigger thing was that I only threw about 5 innings in a big league game last year, and that's why a lot of the rhythm part that I spoke about earlier was gone. How much to, push and step on it earlier on in the game, and I think you can see that my velo was a little bit higher towards the end of the game. I was able to grasp a little bit of that, and I think, like I said, I was able to get a lot out of this outing.
So Kodai Senga talking about that ghost fork in which he struck out 8 Marlins on this night. Not all of them on the ghost, but the majority on that pitch.
Yeah.
He said it was a good pitch, not a great pitch for him tonight. Do you concur with that?
I think it was better than good. I think it was maybe not his best ever, but he struck out 6 on the ghost fork. It was effective once he got it into rhythm, and I think more importantly, listening to him say that this outing would have been better and this ghost fork would have felt better to him had he kept his team in a position to win. Very hard on himself. Obviously, you heard him talk about Francisco Lindor and how much he does for everybody else and that he should have picked him up right there. The ghost fork was effective when he got ahead. You can see a lot of swings and misses, a lot of whiffs. The strikeout pitch became his weapon like we've seen in the past. He just got himself into a hole by trying to get ahead with the fastball and not getting that rhythm early. And first 2 batters of the game really did the damage. After that, he was very, very good.
All right, not finished yet here on Infinity Postgame Live. When we come back, we'll look ahead to the final game. Rubber game of this series coming up late tomorrow afternoon down in Miami. Clay Holmes going to make his second start for the Mets tomorrow afternoon. We'll look ahead to that when we come right back.
Infinity Postgame Live is presented by Infinity. Experience the Infinity lineup at your local retailer today.
everybody.
I'm Michelle Margot. Coming up on Honda Sports Night, the Mets coverage continues as Sal Licata and John DeStrempe join us. The Knicks go for 3 in a row at the Garden. Plus, Giants